Call it the third month of the calendar craziness.
The Anastapula Law Firm has been recovering millions for their clients for over 30 years. Whether it's a slip and fall, car accident, or any other issues that have resulted from an accident, Anastapula Law Firm can help. Their South Carolina personal injury attorneys have experience fighting for the rights of their clients. Remember, don't scream. Call Akeem. Dial 800-ALL-7s now. Herb Glass is responsible for this ad, and cases are handled at 32 Ann Street, Charleston, South Carolina, 29403. Paid endorsement, not actually client. Results may vary.
Introducing Herndon Certified. Herndon Certified used vehicles are quality assured and come with our 60-day warranty, complete with nationwide coverage. Don't just buy a used car. Buy a Herndon Certified used car and drive with confidence, knowing Herndon's got you covered. Find your perfect pre-owned in-store or online at HerndonChevy.com.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile, smile.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
This is USC linebacker Mo Kaba, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, home of the Gamecocks.
A Cumulus media station.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina.
Not feeling like yourself? Call the Men's Clinic at 803-875-MENS.
The Halftime Show on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Glad you could be hanging out with us as we roll this baby. Let's see, this time tomorrow. See you, Ed Bird. Have a good one there, Commander. All right. We will be getting close to the NCAA tournament for the men. We're about roughly 15 hours away. 16, Tyler.
16 hours away from the start of the tournament?
You know, my earbuds aren't in yet.
Well,
go ahead now. I know you said something fantastic that I missed.
I think your math's a little bit off.
Let's see. Today's what, Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday.
It's 4 o'clock start.
Yes.
3:30 pregame. So right now it's noon. So 24 hours from now is noon.
Yes.
28 hours.
You said 16 hours
say
initially.
16?
I was like, they don't start the games
16,
that early.
It's 16 somewhere.
I know they have some like 11 o'clock tips, but not
like
8 a.m.
Yeah, obviously my math is phenomenal today. So about 20, 24, 28 hours away from tip.
Roughly. Well, this time tomorrow, we'll be out at Twin Peaks.
Yes.
We'll be giving away team names for you to join in the dance contest.
Yes.
Going to be taking in a lot of basketball, TV as far as the eye can see. It's going to be a great time.
It's going to be great. I mean, you got the hoops on all the TVs. The food's great. And I'm not just saying that. The food's great at Twin Peaks. I know I've sampled it for 3 years now. The food's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And come on out early. We're going to be there about 11. We'll be there roughly between 11 and 11:30 getting our stuff set up. And feel free to pop in 11:30 on, and we'll give you some teams. We had a line last year out to Gervais, man, of people wanting teams.
Only 68. Well, actually, by then, only 64 spots.
Yes, there'll be 64 spots. Just pull it out of a hat, and that's a team you get. And look, the people that got, no, they weren't mad. They just kind of laughed. They went, really? Ready? Florida Atlantic? Seriously?
Your chances of winning the grand prize with some teams are lower, but you get prizes for Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. Win a couple games, and they might get you something.
Remember, 11 seeds have gone to the Sweet 16 constantly in the last so many years. Matter of fact, out of double-digit seeds, I think there's, in the modern era, 14, 11 seeds have gone to the Sweet 16. Last year, you had one 11 seed in Princeton.
Right.
They always go.
I was going to say, and it's funny because I think we're all kind of naturally inclined to think that 12s are most successful against 5s, but it has been kind of this recent surge of 11s getting 6s.
That's the bad news because Carolina's a 6 and Oregon's an 11. So you saw that deep dive in ESPN about it?
The numbers of March Madness are always fascinating.
I dork on all that stuff. And yeah, the 11s have become the new 12s lately. The 12s still get theirs.
Oh, they do.
But last year, no 12 won.
By the way, I think McNeese can take down Gonzaga, by the way.
Gonzaga, you know what's interesting is like Gonzaga, this was not a typical Gonzaga team.
No. Well,
this was not
Timmy finally graduated after 84 years.
Yes. And they didn't have that impact in the transfer portal guy, recruiting. They had stacked up some pretty good recruiting classes, but a lot of guys left. They didn't want to wait their turn.
Right.
And, in today's basketball, and again, I'm not saying I'm blaming anybody, but you sit for a year or two and you're like, you know what? I want to go peace out and play somewhere else where I can actually get on the court.
Sure.
And the one guy for Gonzaga, and you bring this up, and I think it's quite fascinating, is Hunter Salas. Now, Hunter Salas was a top 40, top 50 recruit at Gonzaga. Sat at Gonzaga for a couple years. Remember, Gonzaga had a wave of high-level guys, and they were going to remember they played for the championship twice?
I lost a bracket because of them losing that game.
And you hate them since.
I do.
So Hunter Salas said, you know what, I'm tired of waiting. Hunter Salas transferred to Wake Forest. Real quick. You think Gonzaga would have liked this? Salas scored 18 points a game, pulled down 4 boards, dished out 2.5 assists, shot almost 50% from the floor, 77% from the line, and 41% from 3 for Wake Forest.
It's good production.
I think Gonzaga would have loved to have had him because, to be honest, Gonzaga from the perimeter not as much firepower as in previous years.
Right.
So they would have loved to have kept Hunter Salas. But again, Hunter Salas was like, look, no offense, I'm out. And so this team for Gonzaga isn't as talented as the typical Gonzaga teams. So to your point, I could definitely see that squad that we're talking about, Will Wade's crew.
I was going to say.
Taking out.
It's the Will Wade factor for me. Because, he got ousted at LSU, but it wasn't from being a bad coach.
That was a damn fine offer. Wasn't that the line?
Something
what was it? It was something like that, wasn't it? That's a damn fine offer.
A strong bleep offer.
Strong bleeping offer. That's what it was. Yeah, strong bleeping offer.
If they don't catch him on a wiretap, he's probably still at LSU.
Yes. And to be honest,
if the dang FBI didn't get involved.
Well, here's the funniest part. If that wiretap doesn't happen, now it's just an NIL deal.
Exactly. He was a couple years ahead of time.
Exactly. He's a trailblazer. Will Wade was just a groundbreaking trailblazer.
Something to that effect.
Yes, right. So, South Carolina, Oregon, we're going to re-rack. You guys you did a couple today, didn't you? With Oregon people.
Yeah, we had a couple different insiders.
So we're gonna grab some Oregon insider point of view on the Oregon Ducks with this upcoming game with South Carolina tomorrow. Again, 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock tip here on the game in Columbia and also the game in Myrtle Beach. So Oregon, very interesting. There's been a lot of injuries. But also, guys, there have been guys who haven't been what Oregon was hoping they were going to be. Other guys have left, again, like the Gonzaga factor. Dudes don't just wait around 3 years for their turn anymore.
Right.
It's a different world. You got all sorts of kookiness. By the way, the offensive lineman, Proctor, 5-star kid, as soon as Nick Saban left. Proctor, you know what? My heart is at my home in Iowa. I want to go play for the Hawkeyes and be home with my loved ones and my family. Well, guess what? Obviously, not really down with hanging out with the family because now Proctor, the rumor is going back to Alabama.
Yeah, wait, you're going to pay me how much to come back to Tuscaloosa?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll be there.
You know what? My new family's in Tuscaloosa. I have a new family.
You know what? Grandma can watch me on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Come to a game. You know, with my new NIL money, I'll pay for your airfare.
You know what? He can get her an apartment in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. And look, I'm not dogging him because this is the landscape of the world. But again, just using an example, this is the world you live in now.
You know what transferring to Iowa gave him? Leverage.
Absolutely, it gave him leverage.
I'm content with going back home and playing unless you make it worth my while. Took them a little bit of time, but they're finally like, hey, we got X amount of dollars that you needed. Come on back. Okay.
Sounds. You know what? I like this. I like this. Kurt DeBear. I like new coach Kurt DeBear. So. But I'm not picking on Proctor. I'm just saying this is the example of the world you live in. So if you're sitting around and you're Gonzaga, again, kids aren't waiting.
Right.
They're going to go. And like Will Wade's got some from the transfer portal there. So it's just the way it is. And Gonzaga is not as Gonzaga-y as they usually have been. But, they've been to like 8 or 9 straight Sweet 16s.
Oh, yeah. No, they're perennially one of the better programs in college basketball. They just haven't been able to break through and get that national championship.
I feel like this might be where the Sweet 16 run stops.
Maybe.
They've been better. The last half of the year they started cooking. But I got to see them a couple times because I was awake and I have no life.
I was going to say, those 11 o'clock West Coast tip-offs aren't ideal.
No. And they're just not, they don't have bucket makers like they had in the last so many years. They just don't have that guy. Like Nolan Hickman was supposed to be that guy. He's been a solid player. He's not a wow, boy, this is going to be a lottery pick player.
Sure.
So they're not as good as they usually are. So I could see Will Wade and his gang winning the 5-12.
Right.
I could see that.
Right.
So the 11 is kind of the new 12 lately. We hope it doesn't happen on Thursday with South Carolina, Oregon. We talk about a lot of splits and people picking this game. Really why people are picking Oregon, let's just be fair. Dana Altman's record in the NCAA tournament at Oregon.
7-0 in first-round games.
He's never lost a first-round game at Oregon. So you know what? No better time than now.
Right.
And this is not as good a team as Oregon has had in the past either, to be fair.
No, but this past weekend, they were playing their best basketball.
And he's had these goofy runs where his teams all of a sudden catch fire and then they'll go to 16 in the NCAA tournament. Now, again, I don't think winning your conference tournament is this momentum swinger that guarantees you to have, success in the NCAA tournament. That's hit or miss. It's because, look, the bracket's so much about matchups for almost everybody.
Sure.
There are a certain level of teams that are just really good, whoever you put in front of them. Like, I think UConn this year, the first 2 rounds, I'm glad you showed up.
Right.
You got to go home. But once you get to 16, even UConn seems head and shoulders better than everybody. But doesn't mean they can't get knocked out. There were teams last year, everybody said, oh, they're going to go. No, they didn't. So I think for most teams, it's about the matchup in the bracket. You can go run your conference tournament, right?
Yeah.
But if you get the wrong first-round opponent or second-round opponent, what you did in your conference tournament don't matter anymore because you're going home. Like, example, we talk about South Carolina. We talk about St. Mary's out of the West Coast Conference. They play really slow, too.
Mm-hmm.
Playing teams with these, whether it's pace, tempo, styles, Iowa State is going to be tough for teams early on in this tournament because the defense, you don't see that type of defense. What they do is different, man.
Houston certainly wasn't ready for it.
Absolutely not. And Houston's looked at as the best defensive team in America, and they went, oh, my God.
Right.
So eventually Iowa State, the fact they can't make buckets will knock them out of the tournament, but that defense is going to could win them a game or two.
Sure.
So all this goes into it. So just winning your conference tournament, yeah, that's great. You got momentum. But if you run into the wrong matchup, you're going home. You just are.
Well, and that's why, the Cinderellas don't typically make it. And some of them have made it to the Final Four, but Cinderellas don't win the national championship.
Nope.
Cinderellas don't make it to the national championship game because you have to be a complete and well-rounded team to win the whole thing.
Eventually, your weakness gets you. Now, again, let's give San Diego State props. First of all, bracket opened up for them. But 2, their weakness last year is they couldn't fall out of a boat and hit water most of the year. They just couldn't score.
Sure.
Well, guess what they did? They started scoring.
Yeah.
Because, again, basketball is also a game that you can get hot.
Right.
So they started scoring, and their defense is so good, they were advancing.
Right.
I mean, there were times in the year San Diego State, the offense was terrible.
Yeah.
So you can also, your weakness, you can get it going, but eventually, and it got them in the championship game against UConn.
Sure.
Eventually, your weakness is going to bite you.
Well, I was going to say, and even San Diego State and Florida Atlantic weren't your typical, Cinderella-type teams. They were good teams just from non-major conferences.
They just had some weaknesses that they covered up.
Sure.
Florida Atlantic wasn't a great defensive team last year. But you know what? They were so bleeping good on offense that they were good enough on defense, right?
Right.
And, Miami was like that. Miami, if you look at numbers and metrics, not a great defensive team. But they were gamblers. They were very small. So they went for steals. They tried to, use their perimeter guys to take chances on defense because they knew once they got in the half court, they couldn't stop anybody.
Yeah.
So what they did worked, plus they scored a lot of buckets. But eventually that defensive problem, it got them. That's an issue usually. So whatever your deal is, eventually your deal is going to get you.
Right.
That's why we always say the teams who win the national title are typically in the top 25 in the country in offensive and defensive efficiency.
Right.
So anyway, so that's tomorrow at 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock tip right here on the Game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina and Oregon, first round game of the NCAA tournament. South Carolina played some baseball last night. Let's talk about that coming back as the Gamecocks got a W over USC Upstate, and we'll maybe yip a little bit about this upcoming series with Vandy. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're here till 3 on the Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
It's the easiest way to snag Gamecocks baseball tickets for nothing. It's our Twin Peaks Dance Contest from the Game. Just stop by Twin Peaks in the Vista Thursday starting at 11:30 a.m. before our live show at Twin Peaks and randomly draw one of the 68 teams in the tournament. Hold on to that team. If your squad wins it all, you'll snag season tickets to the remainder of the 2024 USC baseball season. The Twin Peaks Dance Contest from Twin Peaks and the Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
March into serenity and step into relaxation with the Spring Madness Member for a Day sale at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Indulge in exclusive benefits, including 10% off products, access to low member price services, and special savings on gift cards. Explore rejuvenation at their locations in the Columbia area or visit handandstone.com to unlock online offers. Embrace the tranquil spirit of spring. See spa for details. Restrictions may apply.
Hey, it's Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Beat the seasons with AAA Heating and Air in the South Carolina Midlands. Need a system upgrade? Get a free replacement estimate today. Worried about cost? Don't be. With their guaranteed financing options, comfort is always within your budget, especially with their new 12 months of no payments or interest in 2024. Plus, enjoy the assurance of a 15-year parts and labor warranty. Ready for an instant quote? Visit their website today and tell them Bill Gunner with 107.5 The Game sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Honda ATVs and side-by-sides have a rock-solid reputation. And now you can get even more out of your new Honda with incredible deals on accessories. For a limited time, select Honda ATVs come with up to $300 in accessory savings, while select Honda side-by-sides come with up to $1,000 in accessory savings. Just head to Carolina Honda Powerhouse in Columbia and save big on accessories today. Carolina Honda Powerhouse, exit 70 off I-20, or visit carolinahonda.com. Honda accessory rebate offer is valid with the purchase of a new and unregistered 2024 and prior ATV. Pioneer and Talon models. Check with Carolina Honda Powerhouse for complete details.
There's no better place to be in the spring than at Founders Park, cheering on the Gamecock baseball team. Get your single game tickets today. Tickets start as low as $12. Visit GamecocksOnline.com to get yours today.
When it comes to beautiful lawns, nothing cuts like a Gravely zero-turn mower. And there's nothing like Gravely's Mow the Distance sales event starting the 27th. Save up to 25% with special financing available. Only at your local Gravely dealer.
Plus tax and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. JT's Kia Mania is in week 3. Don't let credit concerns keep you from buying a new or pre-owned Kia. Nobody fights harder than JT to get you approved. With every new Kia, you'll get a huge cashback check. Plus, JT has no money down, no payments for 6 months. And check out our 0% financing. Everyone who comes gets to spin our prize wheel for cash and prizes. Greystone Boulevard or Killian Road. JT's Kia Mania is back.
Spring is in the air, and it's the perfect time to give your home a refresh. At Dan's Fan City in Harbison, we're celebrating spring cleaning with amazing deals on floor samples, closeouts, and overstocks. Whether you're looking to upgrade your ceiling fans or add a new one to your space, Dan's Fan City has you covered. Stop by our store or give us a call at 781-FANS to take advantage of these fantastic offers. Don't miss out on the chance to save big and elevate your home's comfort and style with Dan's Fan City on Harbison Boulevard.
Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Platte Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
Run the Cup, the Lexington Medical Center Governor's Cup Road Race. Be part of history in downtown Columbia at the longest running and most prestigious road race in the Southeast. The Half Marathon, 5K, and Main Street Mile are now open for registration. Kids can run the Cup for free in the Kids Main Street Mile. And don't miss the post-race celebration with music, food, vendors, and a special awards ceremony. Register now for the Lexington Medical Center Governor's Cup Race, April 12th and 13th. Learn more at governorscupsc.org.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina, on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
The 1-2, he swings and drives it high in the air. A country mile long. This ball is deep and off of the roof of the apartment building in left field. Hello, Cole Messina. His 8th homer of the season. This one the longest to date. South Carolina goes in front 1-0. Top of the first inning.
There is the Cole Messina bomb. 8 on the year for Cole Messina. South Carolina with that victory over Upstate last night. Good news is, again, scored 12. Offense has got to get going, got to get consistent. You know, yesterday Messina's got 8 homers, but he's only hitting 260.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will jumpstart him to where he can start, piling up some other hits besides homers.
And he was 0 for on the weekend against Ole Miss. Like, he desperately needed a 4 for 5 night like he had last night to hopefully get him a little bit of momentum going into what's going to be a very tough series this weekend against Vanderbilt.
14 hits. Petrie had a couple knocks. Parker Nolan also a couple of base hits in the game. Petrie went yard. Jones just keeps hitting.
He was 1 for 6, but he made that one
triple.
count.
Triple, yes, 1 for 6 with a triple.
By the way, that was the one thing he was missing, I think, in Saturday's game against LSU, where he could have the cycle if he had triple in that game.
Yeah, on the season, remember, Jones started the season not in the starting lineup in any way, shape, or form.
It was he and Jackson competing for the spot in the outfield, and Jackson got the nod early.
So now Kennedy Jones, 364 batting average, 636 slug, 485 on base. OPS way over 1,000. Matter of fact, over 1,100. So, Kennedy Jones has really got it cooking. And Ethan Petrie, we talk about the lack of consistency in the strikeouts, and yet Petrie, you want to make more solid contact, because when Petrie makes contact, the ball gets hurt.
It's either a home run or a strikeout, it seems like.
And Petrie,
feast or famine.
Yeah, right now 306 on the year. Petrie is slugging 667, and his on-base percentage is 500. So he is truly the 3 outcome guy.
He is, and
home run, walk, strikeout.
This past weekend, struck out 7 times.
Right, and then got 2 hits last night. So right now, 306 batting average with a crazy slugging percentage at 667 and a stupid on-base percentage of 500. But to your point, the strikeouts on the season, 24 strikeouts. And that is in 21 games. 72 at-bats without the walks being counted in.
Right.
So, yes, and it's always that thing with this type of hitter, man, if he could just make more solid contact. Because when he makes contact, he barrels and good things happen.
And that's something that I brought up a couple weeks ago. It was right after the Clemson series where, looking at the numbers, this is a team that as a whole wasn't making good contact with the baseball. They were not putting the ball in play. They were getting under it, hitting a lot of pop-ups. They weren't hitting those like line drive types that tend to bring in runs. And that's something that, has kind of come and gone since then. Obviously didn't see a lot of that this past weekend against Ole Miss. So, so certainly some areas for this team to improve on hitting-wise.
The flip side is, if you look at the stats going into last night, South Carolina pitching-wise, I believe, was third in the SEC in ERA. They were second, I believe, in opponent batting average.
Yep.
The pitching, which everyone was so worried about, has more than held their own. It's the offense, which everybody went, offense is going to be just fine. Look at who's coming back. Look who came in through the portal. All good. The offense in almost every category going into last night was in the bottom half of the SEC.
It swings every year. You go from one year, it's like pitching's great, offense isn't great, to the next year, offense is great, pitching is could use a little work. Now it seems like we're back to pitching. Really good. Offense, all right, good, but areas of improvement.
Yeah, I mean, last night and the pitching, it was like a hit or miss. Eddie Copper, 2 innings, gave up 2 earned runs. Was it Pitzer and Parker Marlott also were good?
And look, it's a staff night. You're going to go through a lot of arms. If you keep Copper in, which that was one of his shakier starts he's had this year. Keep Copper, Pitzer in longer. We're probably telling a different story, but once you brought in Dean, things went off the rails.
Dean struggled.
Good, who's routinely been one of the best pitchers on the staff this year. He couldn't get it out.
Yeah, so Dean gave up 4 earned, 5 total runs in a third of an inning. Just a struggle. 3 hits. And then Good came in, like you said, and Good struggled. Veach, it's really important to get Veach right. Veach has kind of had some good and bad moments this year. Veach went 2 2/3, 3 strikeouts, only gave up the 1 hit. And then, of course, our guy Garrett Gainey came in, and Garrett Gainey took care of business.
Veach comes in that 6th inning where it was just off the rails, and USC Upstate was scoring. Boom, immediately gets the last 2 outs and gets out of it.
Yeah, because Coach Kingston talked about it, I think, with Jay and Elijah on the postgame show on Monday, where Coach Kingston always hops on Mondays, that Veach has become what Major League Baseball will call the high leverage guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the closer. He comes in with the fire truck.
He gives you those bridge innings.
Yeah, he's got to come in because, I always say this all the time. We are always in love with closers in baseball.
Sure.
But so many baseball games are won and lost in the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning by relievers who come in a crisis situation and can't get outs.
Right.
So you never get to your closer because your setup guys failed you.
Sure.
And so if you got a good high leverage guy to go with a good closer, now all of a sudden the opposing offense says, well, geez, we better get to him by 6 or 7 innings. If not, we got no shot.
And I think that's what you have with Veach and Gainey closing games out like they did last night. I will continue to sing the praises of Garrett Gainey. He has been phenomenal this year. The 1 earned run was that lone home run against Clemson. Other than that, he's been lights out.
Yeah, and Veach, again, sometimes you work in games where the score might not be tight. And, a lot of people who throw high leverage or closers, if they're not in a pressure situation, they'll give up runs. It just happens. With Chris Veach, if he's the high leverage guy for this team, and Gainey can continue to do what he's doing at the back end, you really shorten games. And Veach's ERA over the season right now is 3.21. And his opponent batting average is really low. If that can continue to go with Gainey, and you shorten games where teams are like, we got to get you by the 6th or 7th inning because we're not going to get you after that with those 2 guys.
Right.
That really tightens stuff for an opposition.
Sure.
It really does. So last night, good W. Now you have Vanderbilt coming in, one of the best teams in America. I'm not going do or die 3-game series, but, the teams you have played, like teams who are Power 5, teams who have something going on, Clemson and Ole Miss, right now you're 1-4 in those games. Fair?
Yes, very fair. We know how competitive the SEC is. If you're talking about being an 0-2 hole series-wise to start the year, that's tough to claw out of. Remember, not every team gets to go to Hoover, by the way. And it's going to be nip and tuck. And if you're down 2 series to start the season, especially losing one at home, the home ones, you got to get the home ones. Yeah. I mean, the road environments, that's tough. And look, every road team lost their series this weekend. You can't give up series at home.
No, and you've got an excellent opponent coming in. You just got to find a way to scrap 2 out of 3. You just have to.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt. Again, is the season over? No, but you really sort of put yourself behind an 8 ball.
If you come away from that series, and then Alabama comes to town the next weekend.
Top 10 ranked team, I believe, right?
Either
top 15. Top 15.
Yeah, top 15. I can't remember if that's home or away, but regardless, you're playing Alabama on Easter weekend, and you're looking at that. That is a must-win series if you drop Vanderbilt.
Yeah, at some point you got to get momentum in the right direction.
Sure.
Because you don't want this thing to start skidding off the rails on you.
Right.
All right, so and we have a heavy baseball weekend, obviously, with Vandy, and we'll figure out how you're going to. We'll get it all figured out. We know this.
You'll be able to hear all of it.
We know this right now. Tomorrow, 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock tip here on the game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. The men take on Oregon. Friday here in Columbia. The women, they open up 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip. Again, here in Columbia on 107.5 The Game. You'll hear the women take on whichever sacrificial lamb they get from the play-in game. That much we know. We know we've got baseball games Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The baseball game we know Friday with Vandy will be here on 107.5 The Game. After that, we got to piece it together, man. Just giving you the truth, being honest with you. That's where we're at.
Just listen all weekend.
You'll figure it out. We'll have them. We got a family of stations. We're going to have my guess is, honestly, the women on Sunday will be on our sister station, 98.5 WOMG.
Right.
The time, obviously, we don't know yet, but we will be going 98.5 WOMG with the women on Sunday.
Yes.
That I think I know. All right, we'll get back in here. Vince Ferrara is going to hang out with us. We're going to get a report on Tennessee going into the NCAA tournament. Our buddy Vince, the sports animal in Knoxville, is next here on the halftime show on the game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
Listen to Gamecocks baseball on The Game. And if a Gamecocks batter hits a grand slam,
you could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash in the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Go to 1075thegame.com and register. Brought to you by Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and The Game.
Whenever you want anything done for you, it's personal to you. So you want what we call a personalized experience with anything. What fits your needs? What fits your budget? What fits your taste? Well, that's what the Nest is all about. If you want maybe redo your kitchen with some new appliances, maybe you want to put a new tub or shower in your bathroom, maybe you want new fixtures, new lighting. You want to make your home to your taste, to what you need, and to your budget. Again, that's what the Nest does. 1331 Gadsden Street in the Vista. Call 803-978-2025. Talk to one of the experts. They have over 70 years of experience at the Nest. Just call and say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I need. Here are my tastes. Here's my budget. They will set up an appointment. You come in, you sit down with their experts, and they will get you set up and make you happy. 803-978-2025. The Nest, 1331 Gadsden in the Vista.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
Worry less about spring cleaning and call Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $129, plus a free hallway. Book online at ZerustColumbia.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you could create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Music fans, on Friday, March 22nd, a very special night is coming to Columbia. Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis, a national television show produced for SCE-TV and American Public Television, is taping live at the historic Chappelle Auditorium at Allen University. Patrick will be joined by Drew Holcomb, David Ryan Harris, and Sean Mullins. This show will air on more than 300 stations this summer, and you can be part of it. Tickets are on sale at southernsongwriters.com or patrickdavismusic.com. One night only, March 22nd in Columbia.
What you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, the best selection of new Chevys. Right now, no hassle, no ridiculous add-on stickers. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
If you are considering selling or buying a home, you need to call Steve Hood at Southern Charm Realty. He has the experience and knowledge you can trust. Want to know what your home is worth? Go to LakeMurraySteve.com and get an instant property valuation. Their user-friendly website is easy to navigate and updates new listings every 15 minutes so you can get the listings first. Bottom line, Steve's going to save you money on the cost of selling your home. Give Steve a call today at 803-722-0136 or go to LakeMurraySteve.com. 803-722-0136.
What's up, folks? Anthony Armstrong here.
Bob Popple, along with Super Bowl champion Carl Banks.
Hey, NFL fans. This is Solomon Wilcox, former NFL safety and host of the Believe in Bengals podcast. Catch my show and all 32 Believe NFL podcasts. Listen in to former players give their inside perspective on your favorite team. Search Believe, that's B-L-E-A-V, on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
It's always football season, wherever you listen.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
All right, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We are making our little tour around the SEC, trying to get as many folks on who are covering the teams that are in the NCAA tournament. We're going to get to Vince Ferrara here in just a little bit from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. We're chasing Vince around. We'll get him, and we'll talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. The thing about the Volunteers, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, was the fact that what makes them different this year is obviously that Connect fella. Dalton Connect he is a high-level offensive player. And Tennessee hasn't had a guy of that ilk in a while.
Right.
And he's the difference. He makes them dangerous in this tournament. But very rarely, and look, it happens occasionally, like Kemba Walker for UConn back in the day. But usually heaping a lot on one guy to where he's going to make or break possibly you advancing in the tournament, it's tough.
Sure.
Because, like, if Dalton Connect has a 5 for 23, unless other guys on that offense step up, they're done.
Well, we saw the first time these two teams matched up between South Carolina and Tennessee. Connect didn't do a whole lot through the first 30, 35 minutes of the game. Obviously poured it on there in the last couple of minutes, but when he wasn't performing at his usual level, I mean, yeah, you got good players on the team like Adu and Ziegler and guys like that, but they weren't stepping up and picking up the slack that Connect was leaving behind.
Right. So when your guy can't be the guy he always is, somebody's got to step in and be the guy. And like, for an example, last year, Alabama, Brandon Miller, awful in the NCAA tournament. In that game, they lost, and nobody else picked up the slack. And without Brandon Miller being Brandon Miller, where'd Alabama go? Home.
Yep.
And it's just that's the reality of this. When one guy is your guy, he just can't have that day.
Yeah, and that's why what we talked about a little bit earlier, it's the well-rounded teams that end up usually making the national championship. When you talk about Rick Barnes and his time at Tennessee, the question always gets asked, like, is this finally a team that he can take to the Final Four? And you want to think yes, but again, if it relies so much on what Connect can do, if they run into a matchup where somebody can limit him like South Carolina did earlier on in the season, then I have a tough time putting them in my Final Four.
And that is the thing. It's just you're going, okay, who else is going to be it? I mean, look, Adu is a guy that has stepped up and has been better than a lot of people thought. But again, who's going to be those guys if Connect does struggle? And we're going to get Vince Ferrara here on the line in just a second and get his thoughts. Vince is trying to get his rental car and do all the things he's got to do to get ready to roll. And we're going to get Vince on the line in a minute to give us a Tennessee update. We'll have Olin Buchanan tomorrow to talk Texas A&M. Later today, we'll have our buddy Conrad Van Order from Jocks in Birmingham to give us a little update on the Crimson Tide. And so once we get Vince, he's working on his rental car right now, picking up his car. Oh, he's picking up his car from the shop. So he's getting his car fixed. So Vince will be with us here in just a little bit. Mississippi State, we're going to see if we can get somebody from Mississippi State. Earlier today, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour and on the Extra Point, we had some folks who covered Oregon, and we're going to re-rack one of those conversations at 2:15, so you can get that. And again, Conrad Van Order at 1:15 from Jocks in Birmingham. That's kind of how we're setting it up right now. And our buddy Dimitri Ravenos, known for his Carolina Panther podcast, also writes for Barrett Sports Media and put up an interesting post about looking at the men's and women's NCAA tournaments, saying, is the women's tournament more compelling and interesting than the men's tournament? That's there. A lot of people are bringing that up right now. They're talking about because the star powers with the women. We went over this yesterday. Why?
Yeah. The women's game is very much becoming reminiscent of what the men's game used to be before you had one and dones and transfers and all this kind of stuff, where you really got to know players for a couple years, and either you loved them or you hated them. I mean, Christian Laettner was hated by so many people and loved by a certain section of people, but he's a guy that stuck around college basketball for a very long time to where you develop that relationship, and you knew, hey, I'm going to tune in and watch him play. I know what he does. I know what to expect out of him. I know his personality, all that kind of stuff. We're getting that with the women's game now, with Angel Reese, with Caitlin Clark, with Camila Cardoso, Malaysia Fulwiley emerging as one of these next greats in the women's game. You have stars that you know.
Yeah, it felt like Christian Laettner was at Duke for 20 years. He was a grandfather when he left Duke. But to the point of the women, I will say one thing, and this is not to rain on anybody's parade. Caitlin Clark has become a polarizing figure in in college basketball. Forget women, men. It might be the most recognizable basketball player on the collegiate level.
I'll take it outside of basketball. I think she's become one of the more recognized ones in all of sports right now.
So when you have a player, I always say this like about Tiger Woods, or tennis was Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras.
Sure.
When you have a polarizing player, and look, I'm not trying to be mean with this because men's college basketball is a niche sport as well now. When you have a polarizing player in a niche sport, that all of a sudden interest goes up, and the casual fan goes, oh, yeah, I've heard of her. Wow, yeah, I see her highlights. Let's watch some of her game. When she leaves after this year, we'll see if the foundation has truly been laid, or was this just a moment when you had a polarizing player lift a niche sport? We'll see. Look, women's sports has gained traction, there's no doubt.
Sure.
But we have to see if this height of boat that's lifted everything, is it just Caitlin Clark?
Right.
And will the women's interest in numbers settle back down a bit, or is this really the start of something?
Yeah.
We got to see.
And look, there's ebbs and flows in any kind of college sport when these things happen, because you do have star power that comes and goes. There is somebody waiting in the wings. Maybe it's Malaysia Fulwiley, and she's not a household name as of yet, but she certainly can be if she continues to play the way that she has this season for South Carolina. There's likely going to be somebody else that's already out there that we don't know anything about. Maybe that person's still in high school that's going to emerge as that next superstar. Will they get to that Caitlin Clark level of crossing over completely into the mainstream? I don't know. That is a very rare thing. But again, the model of women's college basketball and the fact that you don't have the one and dones and you have girls that stay around for a while that you can get familiar with sets them up to have somebody else likely to take that spot at some point.
And probably not to the level of Clark, but
sure, can still be very high.
They have more of a chance to have recognizable players than the men.
Sure.
Because these women stay longer because of the situation with the WNBA.
Right.
They can make more money in college. Let's grab a quick call here. Barron's been holding on. Barron, we appreciate you hanging. You're on the game. What's happening?
Oh, thank you. Very quick. You just talked about golf. Now, we do have a guy in golf, Scheffler, who may be the super guy. And it's a shame that he's not playing all the players, the Live League and all that, because he's taken over. He's the only player that's ever won the Players back-to-back. He just won this weekend. And he'll probably win all the games he plays in. He's big.
He's good.
He's right down the middle. He's the man.
He's good.
Talk about basketball now. Let me jump over to Dalton Connect for a moment. They have a plan for him. I can tell. I played basketball all the time. You play for a good player. Where does he go? What two men's going to be there? And sometimes I've seen three men trying to surround him.
Oh,
and the other players just can't hang. They want to be good. They want to try and help win, but they can't do it. And if they're stopping him, it's a tough night for Tennessee.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And you're right. You can double him. You can triple him. You can box and one him. You can do all sorts of things to get him out and make the other guys beat you. Absolutely. We got to hit a break.
Exactly.
Barron, thank you very much for your call, my friend. I do appreciate you. Thanks for holding on, too, and thanks for calling the game. We're going to get our buddy Vince Ferreira in here next from the Sports Animal in Knoxville to talk about those Volunteers right here on the Halftime Show on the game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
It's the easiest way to snag Gamecocks baseball tickets for nothing. It's our Twin Peaks Dance Contest from the Game. Just stop by Twin Peaks in the Vista Thursday starting at 11:30 a.m. before our live show at Twin Peaks and randomly draw one of the 68 teams in the tournament. Hold on to that team. If your squad wins it all, you'll snag season tickets to the remainder of the 2024 USC baseball season. The Twin Peaks Dance Contest from Twin Peaks and the Game.
This is Andrew Perloff with a CBS Sports Minute. Caleb Williams is set to throw today at the USC Pro Day. He's the latest quarterback to wear the generational label. He's being lumped in with Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. In other words, it's Hall of Fame or bust. Totally unfair. Look at Trevor Lawrence. He was a sure thing, but he landed on a flawed Jags team. Williams is incredibly talented. He's probably going to Chicago, where nothing is guaranteed at quarterback. I'm Andrew Perloff.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? Well, Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has helped over 35,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares, and they may be able to help you too. If you were misled into signing a timeshare agreement that is a lifetime commitment, if you were told timeshare is a great investment or your maintenance fees will never go up, you need to get the facts about timeshare cancellation. For over 10 years, Wesley Financial Group has been dedicated to helping folks get out of a lifetime of debt by canceling their timeshares. So they created a timeshare exit information kit, which reveals how the timeshare industry works and what your options are for cancellation. Simply call Wesley right now and they will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free. See how you can become timeshare free. Call 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. Again, 800-761-0000.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Minimum purchase required. Interest accrues from date of purchase but is waived if paid within promotional period. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details.
Attention homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus with our March 31-day sales event, you can save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text FRONT to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text FRONT to 200-300 to save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Hurry, this incredible 31-day sales offer is only in March. Text FRONT to 200-300. Text the word FRONT to 200-300. FRONT to 200-300.
Starting March 18th for 3 days only, shop limited-time doorbusters during Lowe's MVP's bonus days. Buy one Metabo HPT 15-degree roofing nailer. Get one box of Metabo HPT 1 1/4-inch collated roofing nails free, a $49.98 value. Plus, save $39 on a Little Giant A4 6-foot 300-pound step ladder. Shop these deals and more while supplies last. Lowe's knows pros. Valid 3/18 through 3/20. Selection varies by location.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah! Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina.
It's time for Text of the Hour on the Firehouse Subs text line on the Halftime Show.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
Well, because it's our show, we can preempt what we ever want to preempt. We'll move the Firehouse Subtext the hour to the next segment. Because Vince Ferrara is more important than a text message. See how much you've moved up in the pecking order of this show, Vince? Congratulations.
Man, I appreciate it. Not worthy. Great to be on with you guys.
Is the car okay?
No. Long story. I'm able to drive it, but it's got a long list of stuff that needs to get done on it. I'm trying to sell it, which makes it even more stressful. You don't want to spend money in something you're going to sell to try to get something else. So just a lot of things pulling me in different directions with it, but at least I'm in it and it's driving at the moment. But I appreciate you asking.
Now, the good news, Vince, because we're in such a high-paying industry as radio, you'll be able to get rid of that car and get a brand new fancy one in no time.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing I'm hoping to do. Yeah, I'll hold my breath waiting for that brand new vehicle in exchange for endorsements. No doubt.
Oh, man. All right, my friend. Tennessee going to the NCAA tournament, got kicked in the SEC tournament. How much do you make of what happened in the SEC tournament, Vince? Just look, it wasn't your night. It happens. Or are there some things in there that concern you moving forward into the big dance?
Yeah. You said they got kicked, and I thought you were going to finish it. You could have filled in the blank with any number of things there. Some FCC approved, some not. But yeah, it was ugly. And look, it was a day of upsets, right? We hadn't seen that before in many years, where the top 3 seeds went down. It was different for Tennessee, though, in a couple of ways. One, in the way they looked and played. I mean, you don't lose by 20 plus and really be out of the game. It wouldn't even, I think it was 17 in the final score, but it wasn't even that close. Just teams that lose like that before ever getting to the semifinals don't often make NCAA tournament noise. I don't have exact numbers on that. I know one thing, teams that don't make the semifinals of their conference tournament, according to the SEC Network, haven't won a national championship since 1985. So, you got to at least – everybody lose. A lot of teams lose in the conference tournaments, even one seeds. You can't go out like that. You can't get punched in the mouth and then have no response or give up 40-plus points in the paint. and just have no confidence and shoot such a terrible percentage and allow the other team to shoot over 60% for a good part of the game. I mean, that's just not winning basketball. But this team has not shown as much of that this year. So you want to cut them some slack from that standpoint. But then with fans and a lot of people, you point back to the history that Tennessee has in the NCAA tournament under Rick Barnes. So that's why I think the alarms went up that for a lot, oh, my God, here we go again, or here's postseason Rick. The thing is, I got to remind people, yes, you can say that's not necessarily a great sign, but the NCAA tournament is a different story. They won the SEC tournament a couple of years ago in Tampa. I was there. So I think it's a little bit of, hey, this is just verifying what our belief is for some that have doubted, even Vols fans. Some of them have doubted this team from the jump. So it added fuel to it. They can change the narrative and go against history. Going against history has happened plenty for Tennessee, especially in football, that they hadn't done in a long time. So it's possible to break through. They have one of the best players in the country, a first-team All-American in Dalton Connect. A lot of times you need a player like that for the postseason. They can score inside. They can get out in transition. All things that they're healthy, which has not happened under Rick Barnes when they had good teams before. So they've got ingredients for tournament success. It's just a matter if they can overcome that history or if they can avoid looking like they are tight, which is what from time to time, including that game, they looked to me. And even that was even with the veterans as well.
Hey, Vince, we got to hit a break or they tase us. Yeah. So can you hang in for a little bit on the next segment?
I can for a couple of minutes. At 1:10, I have a doctor's appointment, but for a couple of minutes on the other side.
Just a couple quick questions. Matter of fact, take us in with the doctor, and we'll go with you.
Hey, I may end up waiting there an hour, so maybe I'll be available longer. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll just hit a couple of them real quick, then we'll let you get running. I got a couple ones I want to get to you real fast before we let you go. Vince Ferrara going to pop in on the other side with us here on the halftime show just for a couple quick questions about the Tennessee Volunteers. And by the way, that stat also, Tyler, no team that's lost the first game of their lost in the first round of their conference tournament has ever won the national championship.
Important to remember when filling out your brackets.
Yeah, but they've gotten to Final Fours and they made runs to Sweet 16 and stuff like that. They just never won a national title.
Right.
Losing the first game in your conference tournament. So we'll get Vince back in here before he goes to his doctor's appointment coming up. Also, we'll get a Firehouse Sub text of the hour as well at 803-404-6100. I'm sure you got a juicy one over there for us for next segment.
I always do.
Absolutely. You can hit us on the chat on the Game TV. Feel free. You can hit us on Twitter at 1075 The Game or X or whatever God's name we're calling that thing now. It's still X, right?
As far as I know.
Hasn't changed.
Elon changed it again.
No, well, you never know. We got that coming up. Conrad Van Order from the Jocks in Birmingham. He'll pop in here at 1:15 to give us a little preview on Alabama. So we got a lot to do. We're going to get to it on the halftime show. We're rolling until 3. We'll get some Shane Beamer sound as well from his first press conference after the first spring practice. Man, we got a lot to do. Jeez. It's a halftime show. Vince Ferrara next. A couple more questions for Vince from the Sports Animal in Knoxville about the Tennessee Volunteers going into the dance. It's coming up here on the Game.
1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
NIL is more important than ever to success in college athletics. Our friends at Garnet Trust are trying to build the best NIL program in the country for South Carolina student athletes. Head on over to garnettrust.com where you can support Gamecock athletes, get access to exclusive content, and help build the best NIL program in the country.
What you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy. Check out the Season of Love at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 in Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
The Anastapula Law Firm has been recovering millions for their clients for over 30 years. Whether it's a slip and fall, car accident, or any other issues that have resulted from an accident, Anastapula Law Firm can help. Their South Carolina personal injury attorneys have experience fighting for the rights of their clients. Remember, don't scream, call Akeem. Dial 800-ALL-7s now. Herb Glass is responsible for this ad, and cases are handled at 32 Ann Street, Charleston, South Carolina, 29403. Paid endorsement, not actually client. Results may vary.
Now you see them. That's right. Those weeds in your grass. And that's because you didn't have Midland's Landscape and Lawns treat your lawn. Hey, this is Paul Roenstein, proud owner of Midland's Landscape and Lawns. Let us take care of those weeds in the grass. Let us get that grass healthy and ready for this season. You know you want a green plush lawn? Let the pros take care of it. Somebody who's local, somebody dependable, and somebody that cares. That's Midland's Landscape and Lawns. You can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
Hey Columbia, are you tired of waiting around for your car to be serviced? Well, at Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia, every Thursday is 30-Minute Thursday. Yes, in just 30 minutes, whether it's an oil change, a battery replacement, or even a tire rotation, their expert techs ensure top-notch service. So why wait? Get your life back in a jiffy. Schedule your appointment today by calling 803-739-2999. That's 739-2999. Or visit them online at wetzelsauto.com. Wetzel's Automotive, they're Otis approved.
Plus tax entitled with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. It's the third week of JT's Kia Mania, and JT's going crazy. Make him an offer. He won't say no to nothing. JT's Kia Mania is your chance to pick up a new Kia at Kia Mania Savings with no down payment and 0 payments till September. JT also has 0% interest. With every new Kia, get a huge cashback check. Rush to Kia Mania, Greystone, or Killian. JT's Kia Mania is back.
Join Angry Fish Brewing Company this week as they celebrate St. Paddy's Day in style. They're excited to announce the release of 4 new beers: Snug Harbor 80 shillings, a Scottish Ale, Tight Lines Irish Red, Roundabout ESB, Extra Special Bitter, and Pints O Gold Irish Pale Ale. And that's not all. They'll have live music with Eric Flanders on Saturday from 7 to 10, along with delicious food available every day. Make your way to Angry Fish on Fabrister Lane in Lexington this week for a St. Paddy's Day celebration you won't forget. Remember, at Angry Fish, we drink all we can and sell the rest.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Join the Lexington Medical Center Foundation on Saturday, April 20th at the Pastides Alumni Center for the McDaniels Golf Classic Gala, featuring live and silent auctions, Capital City Catering, and live music by the Crystal Clear Band. Proceeds benefit the McDaniels Pucci Cancer Fund and support programs and services at Lexington Medical Cancer Center, from diagnosis to survivorship. Purchase your tickets today at McDanielsGolfClassic.com.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
This is Gamecock quarterback Spencer Rattler, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, the home of the Gamecocks.
A Cumulus media station.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina.
Not feeling like yourself? Call the Men's Clinic at 803-875-MENS.
It's 1 o'clock. That means football. Football. And more football. On the Halftime Show.
Is sponsored by Atlantic Window and Door. Go to awdsc.com.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
We'll get to our football in a minute, but first we're hanging out with our buddy Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville, talking about the Tennessee Volunteers going to the NCAA tournament. All right, Vince, 2 quick ones for you. Number one, we talk about Dalton Connect and how important he is to the Tennessee offense. He's made them a different team offensively than we've seen here in recent history with the Volunteer basketball team. But I've noticed something. Take away that SEC tournament game where Connect was 4-17 and struggled. In games Tennessee has lost, Connect has been good in most of those games offensively. The other guys haven't stepped up. So you've watched every game. How important is it for the B squad to step up to help Connect? Because sometimes that's when they get a loss.
Yeah, it is important. And actually the numbers when you really dig into them, we've done it on a TV show I'm on Sunday mornings in town, and the host does an awesome job of breaking those numbers down. It's not 100% where Connect doesn't score, they lose. There's times where they win when he doesn't score, is their leading scorer, or scores the high volume 25 plus like he's done plenty of times. But that's because in those games, the rest of the guys are carrying their weight, or really good and dialed in, or they're able to score inside and outside. That's where it is. It's not they need his points every game. To your point, and to what some people believe, they need everybody else to carry their weight. And then maybe at times they do need Dalton Connect to just go berserk like he did in that Auburn game and take over. But if everyone else isn't pulling their weight, it doesn't matter if he gets 40 like he's done before, like he did against Kentucky. They can still lose. It is, to me, all about everybody else. Their two best players outside of Connect are Zakai Ziegler at point and Jonas Adu inside at the post. Those two guys absolutely have to be really, really good so they have a top three. Then they need some sort of offensive punch from either their other two starters and Santiago Vescovi, who is struggling mightily right now, just in a brutal slump. He has 23 points in his last 7 games.
Ooh.
And then, and the shooting percentages are awful. In fact, he's been known as a three-point shooter. He passes up on three-point shots, and teams are now giving him room and daring him to shoot. That's how the struggles he's in right now. And Josiah Jordan-James, he like Vescovi, does a lot of the glue stuff, the fix-it stuff, the defensive stuff, but they need some offense. They need him to be a threat with that jumper from the elbow or a corner three from time to time if teams are over helping to connect and trying to get the ball out of his hands. They need the threat from those other guys. At times they've been really good, but it's been inconsistent. So, and then their numbers actually show when they lose, their bench scoring is way down. So it is very important. I think how far they go relies more on everybody else than just Connect, although they still need Connect to look like it's not too big for him, because honestly, even Rick Barnes mentioned it. He looked like the SEC tournament was big to him. He can't be that way in the NCAA tournament. He needs to really savor it and perform like this is the stage he was built for, like many people think the NBA is. He's got to be great, even if it's not for 40 points, if everybody else is really good.
All right, Vince, last one for you, then we'll let you, go to the doctor, because we all love those trips to the doctor. It's so much fun. So much fun. Yeah. Last thing, Rick Barnes obviously has put the Tennessee basketball program back on the map. He's been, I think, 2 Sweet 16s, if my memory serves me, in Knox. Again, this team, there's more expectation because of Connect. Is there a pressure in any way, shape, or form, media, fan base, anywhere that says, all right, Rick, let's get really deep in this dance now, bud. Come on, it's time.
Oh yeah, minus the bud. Like, seriously, I know you didn't mean that literally, but seriously, like, after the reaction to them losing the way they did in Nashville was not good, including in the Mid-State, where I was doing a show right afterwards there in Nashville, and they said they couldn't. There was Titans news. They couldn't even get to any of that because so many people were complaining about Barnes and saying they needed to move on from Barnes. That's not the whole fan base. That's vocal minority, but that's there. And if anything, I don't think it bothers Barnes, because I think he is confident in who he is and wanting to win for his guys. You just wonder if the players feel that, and I know they hear it, and if that adds to the pressure of them wanting to show that stuff doesn't really reflect how great of a coach he is as a Hall of Fame coach, or maybe they try too hard, or maybe they'll have an even bigger chip on their shoulder because people are going there again, and maybe they'll use that to show everybody, that he can be that kind of coach, and they can have that legacy. It's there for him to be the team that broke through with Rick Barnes. You just don't know how these guys are going to handle it, but yeah, absolutely, there's tension in the air, even if it's not from Barnes hearing it directly. that it's time. And we've asked listeners, I think it's Elite Eight or Final Four for the fans with what would be deemed as successful. You're a 2 seed, I think at least Elite Eight, or else there's going to be more disappointment talk in the offseason.
Vince Ferrara, man, you're picking up your car, going to the doctor. You found time for us. You're the man. We appreciate you, bud. Thank you very much.
Hey, how about this? In SEC country, didn't even bring up spring football practice that's underway, or baseball. I guess there's plenty of time for that. But man, that just tells you how big of a deal hoops is right now. But always great to be on.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll bug you again down the road, my friend. Maybe before you go to the dentist, we'll get you.
Hey, there's so many doctor's appointments, will probably happen again. I appreciate your patience.
No problem. We appreciate you, Vince. Thanks, pal. We'll see you, bud.
All right, bud.
All right, Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. He brings up something interesting, Tyler. 2 things. One, we've been talking about Dalton Connect and how important he is for Tennessee.
Sure.
Because it's almost like they would live and die. But then I'm looking, and what changed my mind and why I asked that question, I'm looking through Connect's game log. And I'm like, we're talking about, well, if he doesn't score, they'll have a tough time winning. I mean, good God, in the game they lost to Kentucky, the last game of the season when they got beaten Knoxville, I mean, Connect goes for 40, 14 of 29 from the floor, 6 of 15 from 3, got to the line 9 times. They still lose the game, but he balled out like nobody's business.
Sure.
You drop down, remember the South Carolina game, he caught fire the last 2.5 minutes, ended up with 31. But the problem was, to the point of what we're all saying here,
right.
Connect wasn't very good for long stretches, and the other guys didn't step up. Ziegler was terrible in that game.
I was going to say, I think when he scores those points is very important because, he was missing a lot in that night against South Carolina. We're turning on those last couple minutes and making it interesting. So if he's not able to put together a complete game, I guess is the better way to put it, as opposed to, routinely scoring those points over the course of the 40 minutes, then the team is in trouble if those other guys aren't able to step up.
Because the last example, Mississippi State, they lost in Starkville 77-72. Connect goes 10 of 18 from the floor, 4-9 from 3, gets to the line 6 times, 28 points, but the other guys don't stay. So Adu and Ziegler they can't score 3 and 4 and 2 points for Tennessee to move on. Yeah, Connect is the dude. And if he pulls a 4-17, they have a tough time winning.
He's the guy, he's the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah, but the other guys have to help him stir a little bit.
Yes.
Or they have to get the glasses out.
Yeah.
Right?
He can't do it all himself.
No. All right, so very interesting what will happen with Tennessee in the tournament. All right, we will get back in. It's football. We're going to get to football. Shane Beamer. We had some of the Shane stuff. We didn't really get to play a lot of cuts because he had just finished when we were on yesterday. Oh, I got a guest here. That's right, because we pushed everything back. We'll get to Shane soon. We'll have football soon. Another section of hoops. It's the NCAA tournament. Conrad Van Order from Jocks in Birmingham going to give us the preview of the Tide going into the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about it. We look at the Tide as an upset victim at the 4-13 possibly. We'll get Conrad's thoughts. We'll get the football bottom of the hour, I promise, here on the halftime show. Also, tomorrow we will be at Twin Peaks. Come on in. We're gonna, typically the show goes at 12. We'll be there between 11 and 11:30. But at 11:30, come on in. Get a team. It's very simple. You're going to reach your hand in a hat, pull out a team. If that team wins the NCAA tournament, you get South Carolina Gamecock baseball season tickets for the rest of the year. But you also get other prizes. If you get to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, to the championship round, a lot of free stuff.
I was going to say, what if the first person pulls out UConn?
Then we bag the hat up and go home. So, again, just because you get a team and you go, that might get you prizes still. So come on out again in the Vista, Twin Peaks, the Vista in Columbia, right before our live show from noon to 3:30. Come pick a team, win a lot of stuff, possibly, from the game. Our buddy Conrad from Jocks in Birmingham is coming up next here on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
The Game TV. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
After being almost $500,000 in tax debt, I was listening to the radio one day and heard a ad for John Ecton Law Firm. So I gave him a call and met with him, and he gave me the confidence to trust him after the reason behind my tax problems anyways was trusting someone I probably should have never trusted. He did everything he said he was going to do and then some. His staff at the office were great, very knowledgeable. With John's help, I have no tax debt now, and I was able to have a family that otherwise I would have never been able to have.
It's great to know we have changed people's lives for the better. Hi, this is local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. For over a decade, our office has been dedicated to helping hardworking individuals and businesses solve tax problems for good. So if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call our office today at 771-9800 or go to EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Let's get your tax problem solved for good. Call today. You'll be glad you did.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to GarnetTrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
Plus tax tags and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. We're more than halfway through JT's Kia Mania. Don't miss your chance to win a Kia. No purchase necessary. Just come in and register. With every new car, you get a huge cashback check. Wow! Choose from new 2024 Kia Souls, K5s, Fortes, and more. Zero down and no payments for 6 months. Plus food, fun, and games for the kids all weekend. Experience JT's Kia Mania on Killian or Greystone. JT's Kia Mania is back.
Spring is in the air, and it's the perfect time to give your home a refresh. At Dan's Fan City in Harbison, we're celebrating spring cleaning with amazing deals on floor samples, closeouts, and overstocks. Whether you're looking to upgrade your ceiling fans or add a new one to your space, Dan's Fan City has you covered. Stop by our store or give us a call at 781-FANS to take advantage of these fantastic offers. Don't miss out on the chance to save big and elevate your home's comfort and style with Dan's Fan City on Harbison Boulevard. Music fans, on Friday, March 22nd, a very special night is coming to Columbia. Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis, a national television show produced for SCE-TV and American Public Television, is taping live at the historic Chappelle Auditorium at Allen University. Patrick will be joined by Drew Holcomb, David Ryan Harris, and Sean Mullins. This show will air on more than 300 stations this summer, and you can be part of it. Tickets are on sale at southernsongwriters.com or patrickdavismusic.com. One night only, March 22nd in Columbia.
When it comes to beautiful lawns, nothing cuts like a Gravely zero-turn mower. And when it comes to cutting prices, there's nothing like Gravely's Mow the Distance sales event starting on the 27th, where you'll save up to 25% with special financing available on America's most rugged and dependable mowers. You can count on more comfort, more speed, and more precision with a Gravely. The Mow the Distance sales event starting on the 27th and only at your authorized Gravely dealer.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence. The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina, on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We are previewing the SEC teams going into the NCAA tournament. We just talked about Tennessee with our buddy Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Now we get our other bud, Conrad Van Order, in here from Jocks in Birmingham. Now, Conrad, no pressure on you. Vince, in the middle of talking with us, was picking up his car from the shop and was sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office. Can you top that, Conrad?
Well, I'm just stuck here at the radio station for Jocks, so that's maybe not quite as entertaining, but it's the best I got for you.
You should have said something like, they just amputated my leg. Just make up stuff. It's radio, Conrad. Just make up stuff.
You're right. Theater of the mind. Right.
Hey, my friend. All right, Alabama loses a 4 of their last 6. Obviously, things didn't go well in the SEC tournament. A team that is one of the best offensive teams in the country, but defensive efficiency sitting around 112th in the nation. Man, this is a kooky team, Conrad. What's the feeling and the temperature going into the NCAA tournament for a team that if they're scoring on offense, they can crush you, but there are some other things that just haven't added up this year for consistency?
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up quite well there for Alabama, especially this last month or so of the season for them. But no, I mean, you're going into a matchup against a Charleston team that, while not quite as proficient offensively as you, they're still in the top 35 in the country in scoring. However, they are worse on defense than Alabama, which I know there's a lot of Alabama fans that would find it hard to believe that anybody could be worse on defense than the Crimson Tide right now. But that has to give you a little bit of hope that at least you're going up a team that plays a very similar style as Alabama. However, it's not quite as prolific as what Alabama's done. However, that being said, I mean, you mentioned losers of 4 of their last 6. You have to go to overtime against, quite frankly, a bad Arkansas team to cap off the regular season. So, I don't think this is an Alabama team that, like early in the year, we could just kind of expect them to roll the ball out there and put up 90-plus. Night in and night out, but that's probably what you're going to have to do against a Charleston team because, I mean, at this point in the season, you kind of are who you are. There's really no room, I don't think Alabama's going to come out and automatically, start looking like Virginia on defense or anything like that. But I think people are confident you can get past Charleston, but when you look at the bracket and potentially having a matchup with a team like a St. Mary's to make it to the Sweet 16, who plays the complete opposite style of basketball of Alabama. I think some people are a little bit concerned. And, of course, coming off the disappointment of last year of losing to San Diego State, I think there's some people that are, cautiously optimistic about Alabama, but you also factor in Nate Oates getting that new pay raise and the new contract extension. And there's definitely a lot of pressure on Friday.
We're talking to Conrad Van Order from Jocks in Birmingham. I had like 10 questions in my head. I'm trying to pick which one. So I had to hesitate for a second. All right, let's go with Oates let's focus there. He's gotten paid, and Alabama has gotten to the Sweet 16, I believe, twice with Nate Oates. But let me ask you this. How many folks just go, wow, Nate Oates plays this really great analytical style on offense. They do all these, things efficiency-wise on offense. They're fantastic. There have been years they've been really good on defense. And it's just a matter of time before Nate gets the Final Four. Or is there a group of people that say, you know what, this is fun to watch. It's entertaining, but this is not the way to get yourself to a Final Four. Where's everybody at with Nate Oates?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, I was kind of surprised with some of the feedback we've gotten this week and just having callers chime in and just, kind of the general buzz on social media and things like that, that I would say there's more people that are maybe disappointed in the announcement of the contract, or maybe not disappointed, but maybe scratching their heads a little bit as to why Alabama was so quick to make him one of the higher paid coaches in the SEC. And by the time his contract's running up in 2030, I mean, he'll be making over $7 million a year. And it is we haven't made it to an Elite Eight under him. We've only been to one Elite Eight in the history of Alabama basketball. Where is that next step for Nate Oates? I think that's, the general consensus from the fan base is they like him. It's fun to watch, like you said. You did get the number 1 overall seed last year, which I think is kind of lost on some people, honestly, with how poorly Alabama's looked this past month. But I think you have a lot of people who are maybe not totally sold on Nate Oates at this point, which is surprising because, I mean, you just consider where Alabama was under Avery Johnson, under Anthony Grant, some of the guys that came before Nate Oates, and not to say that they were, rock bottom or anything like that, but to be in a position where you're expected to make the tournament every single year now. It's just, I guess, the expectations of Alabama and the SEC is people are already used to that. That's not exciting for them anymore. It's what's the next big thing you can do for me? And so I think there's going to be a large contingent of basketball fans for Alabama that are not sold on Nate Oates until they are able to finally get over that hump and make it to an Elite Eight or potentially a Final Four.
Conrad Edwarder hanging out with us from Jackson, Birmingham, talking about Alabama hoops on the way to the NCAA tournament, obviously taking on Charleston, that 4-13 game. By the way, Conrad, 1-4 seed has lost in this tournament in the first round. I forget how many straight years, but it's become a trend. Just to let you know, it's become a trend.
Yeah.
So when you look at this team, last year they were a very good defensive team. They had, a rotation of rim protectors. And defensively, you went in the paint. Usually your shot got swatted into the parking lot. Obviously, they don't have that this year. Is that the simple explanation for the struggles on defense, or is there more than just that?
I think that if you were to make a list of, there's more than one problem, clearly. But I think the main one is, yes, like you were saying, you don't have that rim protector that you had last year and a guy in a Charles Bediako who – really came along late in the year for Alabama and really turned into one of the better big men, in my opinion, and not only the SEC, but kind of in the entire country when we were talking about Alabama heading into the tournament last year. And I know a large part of the fan base wanted him to come back. That was one of the big names that a lot of people thought needed maybe another year to develop and then could go to the NBA and be, potentially a late first-round pick. But he decided to go and play professional basketball. And, that's really hurt Alabama because while you do have some size, Grant Nelson's, he's not going to bang down in the paint. He's not there to, block. He's done a good job as necessary, but that's not where you would ideally have him if you had another rim protector. It's the same for guys like Nick Pringle, who, quite frankly, he's been suspended from the team a couple of times this year for off-the-court issues. And so you don't have that continuity there. And so I think that's the biggest problem for Alabama defensively. But you also look at, something Nate Oates has brought up a lot is when this team struggles offensively, they let that carry over to the defensive side because they have fun on offense. When, you're raining threes, you're putting up 100 points, it's fun. Everyone's having a good time. But when those shots aren't falling and you're having to run back on the other end and defend, there's just not the same effort that's there. And so I think another part of it is you have guys like Mark Sears who has been phenomenal for Alabama, but let's be honest. You need that guy to be out there for, 38 to 40 minutes every single game in order to keep you in it. And so that's part of, you're going to have guys that are gassed on the defensive end. And so it's a little bit of a give and take there. But no, I think the rim protector, the lack thereof, is the biggest issue. But you can tell there's been a problem with effort at times as well, which is very uncharacteristic for a Nate Oates team.
And Conrad, you brought up Mark Sears. Sears' numbers are just stupid. Over 21 points a game, over 4 boards, 4 assists, almost 2 steals a game. He shoots. His slash numbers, 50% from the floor, 43% from 3, 86% from the line. So a lot of his numbers are better than Dalton Knecht. Everybody thinks Knecht just automatically gets SEC Player of the Year. But Sears has been right up there. Talk about Sears on the offensive end of the court this year. He's been lights out.
Yeah, the jump that he's made from last year being, coming in from Ohio, there were certainly expectations there, but clearly it was the Brandon Miller show last year, and rightfully so. But the jump that he's made from last year to this year has been remarkable. And you even look at a guy like a Grant Nelson again, who came over from North Dakota State. This is a guy that was a preseason all-SEC first-team pick. And that was kind of the guy that had all the attention on him. And then Mark Sears kind of comes out of nowhere and, is averaging over 21 points a game and absolutely takes the league by storm. And he's a second-team All-American now. He has been, he is the engine for this Alabama offense. And without him, I don't know if we're talking about this as a team that's in the NCAA tournament, to be completely honest with you. He's been that valuable to what they do, and he's been not only his skill set and his performance on the court, but also his leadership, being a guy that, he's been in college basketball for 4 years now. He's been in the program in Tuscaloosa for 2. He's really stepped up in a leadership role as well. And I'll be honest, I don't think there were many people that keep up with Alabama basketball that were expecting this kind of a jump from him, to where, you can make an argument that he's legitimately a top 2 or 3 point guard in the entire country. It's been remarkable to watch.
All right, Conrad Van Order, Jackson, Birmingham. How far does Bama go?
I think you cap them at the Sweet 16, if I'm being completely honest. Now, obviously, there is any team that can be as prolific offensively as they can go on a deep run. But I bring up again, I think you can get past Charleston, but the St. Mary's matchup, if that is who you end up facing afterwards, it's just a completely different style of basketball. And so maybe that goes in Alabama's favor. Maybe it's one of the ugliest performances they have of the year, going up against a team that likes to play as slow as St. Mary's does and limit your ability to take threes. But after that, you're going to have to probably face a North Carolina team in the Sweet 16. That is a very, very dominant team. You have an elite scorer and a guy like R.J. Davis. I just, being from Alabama, being here in Birmingham, it would be great for us. We would love for Alabama, Auburn, Stanford, and UAB to all make deep runs in the tournament. But it's hard with how Alabama's looked the last month of the season to think that they're magically going to correct all of these issues here in the NCAA tournament. I think they're good enough to get to the Sweet 16, but I don't know if you're good enough to get past a North Carolina, or if it's a Michigan State or Mississippi State who got really hot at the right time. I don't know. I think it's Sweet 16 is kind of my cap for Alabama right now.
Conrad Van Order from Jackson, Birmingham, while doing this conversation with us, was getting his wisdom teeth taken out.
That's absolutely right.
Hey, my friend, we always appreciate you, bud. We'll bug you again down the road. Thanks, Conrad.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Have a good one.
All right, we'll see you, man. We'll get back in here. Now we'll get to football, more football. Some quotes and comments from Shane Beamer. First presser yesterday of the spring after the first spring practice. We'll hear some thoughts from the head football coach at South Carolina next on the Halftime Show, right here with Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Ever sit in this meeting?
What would you say you do here?
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
Think to yourself, man, I'd rather be listening to The Game.
You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Well, just go to iTunes or Google Play and download our app on all of your devices, and you'll never be without The Game again.
803-875-MENS. The Men's Clinic of South Carolina. We talk about it all the time here. We're not getting younger. You're getting older. You're sitting there as a guy, and you're off. You don't remember where you sit things. You can't lift as much as you used to at the gym. You don't bounce back from your workouts like you used to. Maybe you're not sleeping. You used to sleep like a rock. Now you're waking up all the time. You have a lack of drive, whether it's life drive, sex drive, professional drive, personal drive. You just have a lack of drive in your life. And this is bugging you. I mean, you're concerned. It could be just low testosterone. Find out. Call the Men's Clinic, 803-875-MENS. Set up a free confidential consultation with Dr. Dan and the staff. If they think it could be low T, they'll do some lab work. If it is low T, they'll put you on a program personalized to make you feel like you again. It's a Men's Clinic of South Carolina, 803-875-MENS.
It's getting warm outside, and now's the time to have the wind in your face and your knees in the breeze on a new Honda motorcycle from Carolina Honda Powerhouse. Right now, you can get up to $1,000 in free accessories with the purchase of a new Honda Street Bike, Gold Wings, Rebel 500s, Rebel 1100s, Honda Fury, and more. This deal is exclusive at Carolina Honda Powerhouse and won't last long. Get up to $1,000 in free accessories on your new Honda Street Bike. Hurry in today. Take exit 70 off I-20 and turn by the Flying J, or visit CarolinaHonda.com.
what you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, the best selection of new Chevys. Right now, no hassle, no ridiculous add-on stickers. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
The Cocky Trot 5K and Fun Run and Walk, presented by Palmetto Shirt Company, is back. Join Gamecock fans on Saturday, April 20th for the fun-filled morning racing around Gamecock Park and Williams-Brice Stadium. Learn more and register today at GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot.
NIL is more important than ever to success in college athletics. Our friends at Garnet Trust are trying to build the best NIL program in the country for South Carolina student athletes. Head on over to GarnetTrust.com where you can support Gamecock athletes, get access to exclusive content, and help build the best NIL program in the country.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
March into serenity and relaxation with the Spring Madness Member for a Day sale at Hand & Stone. Receive product savings, member price services, and gift card savings. Visit their Columbia area locations or handandstone.com to unlock online deals. Restrictions apply. See spa for details.
Plus tax and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. JT's Kia Mania is in week 3. Don't let credit concerns keep you from buying a new or pre-owned Kia. Nobody fights harder than JT to get you approved. With every new Kia, you'll get a huge cashback check. Plus, JT has no money down, no payments for 6 months. And check out our 0% financing. Everyone who comes gets to spin our prize wheel for cash and prizes. Greystone Boulevard or Killian Road. JT's Kia Mania is back.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Well, welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler and Terry along with you on this Wednesday afternoon. It is indeed time to dive into football, and more. Football, obviously yesterday was day one of spring practice, and as we will have, I believe, every single week on Tuesday now for the next month leading up to the spring game, we'll be able to hear from Coach Beamer, get his thoughts on the latest things happening in practice as we figure out what this team's going to look like in 2024. Obviously, a lot of question marks around certain positions as position battles are going on. Quarterback, obviously, we think it's going to be Sellers. We don't really know. Still is a competition, but Sellers certainly has the inside track. A lot of guys coming in at wide receiver, figuring out how you're going to use them in the pecking order. What's going to happen now offensive line? That's certainly a question mark too, with what that starting five is going to be. But, along with bringing in a ton of new players, there's also a lot of new faces on the coaching staff as well. And yesterday was the first opportunity for those guys, new coaches, to work with their teams, work with the team as a whole, as well as their position groups individually in a true football setting, not workouts, not, individual team activities or whatever, a true football practice. And Coach Beamer gave his assessment on what he saw out of the new coaches on day number one.
Just that intense. They all have their own personalities, and it was great having them out there. Coach Blackwell, Coach Furry, Joe D, and then Sean. All those guys, it was cool, their first practice being out there as well. And I know they were excited also, but probably that's the biggest thing. Joe D, you hear him, you see him, he's everywhere, he's high energy, flying around on the practice field like we all are. His meetings are the same way. They're very you know, we're maybe not doing movie quotes and history lessons like we have in the past, but it's very, 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 very high energy. You know, there's no dozing off, and there's no losing focus in that meeting, his special teams meetings, that's for sure. So he coaches that way in the meetings. He coaches that way on the field. Same thing with Sean. I mean, he's just what you thought, intense, and in the huddle with the offense today, getting those guys going. And I'm really talking about the young players that I'm excited about. I'm really excited about this coaching staff that we've, you know, put together, and things kind of roundabout way of getting there. But at the end of the day, I'm convinced that it all worked out the way that it was supposed to work out, and really like the group. They're great guys and great teachers, and they love being on the field with the players, and they showed that today.
Roundabout way, that's one way to put it. It has certainly been an interesting offseason so far for Coach Beamer when it's come to hiring coaches. Obviously, the carousel that's been the wide receiver coaching spot here at South Carolina finally nailed down with Mike Fury coming in to coach that position. You heard him allude to it there. All the new coaches, everything seemed to be fine on day number one. Sounds like everybody comes in bringing a certain level of intensity, which is always good when you talk about football coaches. Obviously, you know that Sean Elliott's on, you know, one way far into the spectrum there, and is always going to be very, very intense and very, very fired up about a number of things. But it sounds like Joe DeCamillis can also be that kind of guy, maybe a little bit of a different way. Mike Furry, very intense when it comes to working with his wide receivers. Like he didn't mention Marquell Blackwell there, but I'm sure we'll learn what kind of coach he is as far as you know, his interactions with players and his emotions during practices as well. And that's what makes these spring practices so valuable, is not just the feeling out process of your roster itself, but also getting coaches acclimated, getting them used to these guys, letting these guys get to know these coaches over the course of, or get to know them even better over the course of the next couple weeks, and have those relationships shored up and firm by the time the season ultimately does roll around. It's plenty to be excited about. Again, I think when we broke down every single hire that Coach Beamer made, there's a lot of positives and a lot of good things from what these guys bring to the table here to this South Carolina team. So we'll look forward to what those guys do when the season does ultimately roll around. Also, yesterday, Coach Beamer touched on the future of this defense and what kind of schemes they're going to go about using. A variety, kind of mixing things together. Here's what Coach Beamer had to say about mixing schemes on defense for this season.
I think even more so than last year, I really do, just because of the athleticism that we've added at linebacker. A couple things. One, we're a little bit deeper right now on the defensive line. You know, essentially last year we had a three-man rotation at defensive tackle with Tonka Hemingway, Boogie Huntley, and TJ Sanders, and then Nick Barrett was kind of that fourth guy. Well, all those guys returned, plus we've added, DeAndre Jules to that, and Monkel Goodwine. So we've got some more depth there. At the edge position, last year it was Jordan Strawn and Brian Thomas, and then JT Gear got in a little bit in there. He got healthier, and Desmond, all those guys, essentially Tyreek, all those guys returned for the most part, but now we've added Dylan Stewart, we've added Kyle Kennard and whatnot. So we have some more depth and athleticism, I think, up front, but then particularly at linebacker, with Debo obviously returning, but we really, really like at the linebacker position, really, really like our two freshmen, Wendell Gregory and Fred J.R. Johnson, and then the two linebackers that we brought in, Bengali Kamara and Demetrius Knight. Both those guys, all four of those guys, they're long, they're athletic, they can run, and they have a lot of position flexibility. So I do believe that whether we're, a 4-2-5 type group or a 3-3 type group, we have the ability to do both because of the increased athleticism, in my mind, up front on the D-line and at linebacker.
Going back to the conversation that we had with Clayton White out at Pro Day last week, he essentially said that it does seem like this team's going to be looking for more of a multiple, flex type of defense when it comes to, the type of schemes that they run, to where they're not going to be married to a 3-3-5 or not going to be married to a 4-2-5. They're going to kind of intermix that, which 3-3-5 is already always a part of the 4-2-5. But we obviously saw towards the end of last season where South Carolina started implemented it a lot more, and it was towards the end of the season where their numbers on defense started to improve quite a bit. And I've brought up this number before, that South Carolina statistically was the second best defense in the SEC in the month of November, I believe, behind Texas A&M. So 3-3-5 was obviously working for this team, and we thought that maybe that's what, going into 2024, you present as your base model of the defense. And, I guess depending on how successful it is, and obviously the matchups will dictate a lot of things as well. It sounds like the base is still going to be that 4-2-5 and then intermixing 3-3-5, maybe a little bit more than they did a season ago, but it is still going to be kind of a flex between those, those two schemes when it comes to defense. And hopefully with this laundry list of additions that you had on defense, and Coach Beamer ran through a couple of names there, you've got a lot of bodies, first of all. It seems you have a lot of talent. You have guys that have been productive at other schools. Kyle Kennard, his time at Georgia Tech. Gilbert Edmond, formerly at South Carolina, went down to Florida State this past season, at the edge spots, and what they can hopefully bring to a position that definitely needs a little bit of juice compared to what it had last year. Demetrius Knight, Bangley Kamara, guys at linebacker, specifically Demetrius Knight, and what he was able to do with UNC Charlotte and just racking up a ton of tackles, sideline to sideline guy, seems to have really good speed, and somebody that may play a good complement in the middle of that defense to Debo Williams. They're in the 4-2-5, or, if he's mixing in there with Bam Martin Scott and Debo Williams as well as maybe that third guy as well. So you have a lot of options, and again, you have a ton of talent that you brought in the transfer portal, and you use the spring practice, you use your preseason camp in August as well to kind of figure out where these guys fit specifically. Again, Bam Martin Scott was fantastic in the 3-3-5 defense a season ago. Didn't show up as much in the 4-2-5 because Debo and Stone Blanton were kind of occupying the middle of the defense there. But when you open up the opportunity to have that extra linebacker on the field, he really thrived. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of packages and a lot of situations that are going to use him in out of that 3-3-5. But they're not abandoning the 4-2-5 completely. Again, the 3-3-5 is just going to be something that they kind of mix in there, and we'll see to what degree they ultimately end up deciding to do that. So, again, those are the kind of things that you figure out through the course of spring, while you got these guys here and kind of figuring out what their strengths and weaknesses are and how they can fit into your respective defensive schemes. So, again, Clayton White's got a lot of work to do over these next couple weeks, but hopefully that'll produce a good defense when the fall does roll around. Well, it's Firehouse Subs Text of the Hour coming up, and wrap up hour number 2. It is almost said the extra point. I host so many shows on here, it's impossible to keep up with all the names at the end of the day. I inevitably screw one up at some point during the day. It is the halftime show. He's Terry Ford. I'm Tyler Head here on The Game.
Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
This is Jim Rome with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by LL Flooring. LL Flooring, every step covered. There were all those reports that Kenny Pickett handled the news that Russ Wilson came to the Pittsburgh Steelers so poorly that the Steelers had had enough and just shipped him out to Philadelphia. Terry Bradshaw, did you think that they were just going to give you that starting job for as long as you wanted? I'm Jim Rome. CBS Sports Radio.
Don't miss Power Torque Tools DIY days now at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Power Torque hand tools come with a lifetime guarantee. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there. To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Getting older is never fun. You start experiencing some symptoms that you're not accustomed to. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe it's low energy level. Maybe it's lack of drive and motivation. But at the Men's Clinic, Dr. Dan Balknight is ready to help you with an individualized treatment that will treat your needs. So give him a phone call today, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS, or visit him on the web for more information, mensclinicsc.com.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina.
It's time for Text of the Hour on the Firehouse Subs text line on the Halftime Show.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
Oh, it's time for two. Not one. We owe the listener two Firehouse Subs text of the hour. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
All right. We'll start off with number one. Going back to, we mentioned this the beginning of last hour, I believe, talking about Caden Proctor going back to Alabama after, the fine folks in Tuscaloosa promised him all the corn he could ever desire if he comes back to Alabama, because I'm sure that's why he came back.
Sure.
Todd weighs in and says, rumor has it, all-world safety Caleb Downs might be next. I wouldn't be so sure on that one. Ohio State has stepped up their NIL stuff as of late. I think Caleb Downs is locked in as a Buckeye.
I think so, too, because Ohio State is on high alert. They've lost to that school up north 3 straight years. They watched that school up north win the national championship. How did Ohio State do in the college football playoff?
Yeah, they didn't.
No. So there's a lot of hot seats in Columbus.
And, Ryan Day, as much as he probably hated doing it, he went out there, he hit the ground running, walking the beaten path and knocked on doors, talked to booster clubs, whatever he needed to, said, hey, here's the number that we need. And he threw that number out there. Says if we want to be competitive, I think it was like $3 million or something along those lines. We need this much money. Yeah. Lo and behold, not too long after that, guess how much money showed up at Ohio State?
Weird how that works sometimes.
That's right.
Isn't it?
That's right. and look, Ohio State's traditionally been one of those programs that, not that they haven't had good NIL, but it's one of the ones similar to Alabama that can kind of rest a little bit on its history and its success of putting guys in the NFL and all that kind of stuff, where you don't necessarily have to have the top end NIL. But again, when you lose 3 straight years to that school from up north and they just won a national championship, it's time to kick it into another gear, and that's what Ohio State did.
You can't lean on being Ohio State anymore.
No.
And you can't lean on the fact you were head and shoulders above Michigan for a long time. That's the key word. Now, again, what's going to happen now that, khakis is gone? We don't know. But you can't wait around, right?
Well, you really can't lose to them this year.
No, right, exactly.
If you lose to them with Sharon Moore as a first-time head coach, and them replacing McCarthy and Corum and tons of other guys on that team that made them successful. If you lose to them this year, I don't care if you're 11-1 and do make the playoff.
Right.
Ugh, that seat's going to get warm.
Well, if you look at it this way, here's the interesting part. If you lose to that school up north, even if that's your only loss, and then you go to the college football playoff and you get knocked out right away, I don't know what's going to happen to Ryan Day.
You know what the beautiful thing is with the new college football playoff and the way that the Big Ten is abandoning divisions that everyone else has. There's potential for 3 meetings between these two teams. Imagine if Ryan Day lost all 3 of those.
He would be ex Ohio State football coach Ryan Day.
Probably so.
Now he'd get another gig in a heartbeat.
Oh, sure.
But he'd be out in Columbus.
Yeah.
I told you, the younger version of me watched the John Cooper era at Ohio State when I was working in Ohio. They didn't care about the 10 or 11 other wins. They cared you couldn't beat Michigan and you couldn't win a big bowl game. So guess who became the ex-coach at Ohio State?
There you go.
They don't mess around, man.
No.
They don't. You got one more? Catch up?
Yeah. Oh, our always reliable guy, Steve, doesn't agree with the fact that the women's tournament, and we're not saying it is a bigger deal. You just have more recognizable faces in it than the men's tournament.
Well, once again, we love you deeply, Steve. But please listen to what we're saying and not just react on the first thing you think you hear.
The men's tournament's going to have bigger ratings.
Oh, the men's tournament will have bigger ratings all the way through. What we're trying to say is the women have more recognizable names when it comes to, like Caitlin Clark. There's no male college basketball player that carries the same recognition factor as Caitlin Clark does right now.
No.
Again, we're not saying she's better. We're not saying the women now have passed the men in popularity. What we're saying is right now there are more recognizable star power women because they stay in college 3 or 4 years because they don't jump to the pros because the WNBA pays them less than an NIL deal.
And with that, you have more baked-in stories to the women's tournament as opposed to the men, which makes it, again, I'm not saying they're going to pull better ratings.
No,
makes
they're
it
not.
more compelling from that standpoint. Like, okay, Caitlin Clark came up short a season ago, goes to the national championship. Angel Reese got the better of her. South Carolina, dominant team a season ago, loses in the Final Four. Like, there's a lot mixed into this. You know, what's going to happen with Southern Cal and Texas and these other programs that are really, really good.
So we're just saying that there's more recognizable name recognition players on the women's side because they stay longer now, and you get that connection with them. Just if you're flipping around Sports Center as a casual sports fan, you hear about Caitlin Clark all the time.
Sure.
ESPN.com has a
State
story
Farm
about
commercials.
the life of her. Right, exactly. All we're saying is there's more recognizable players on the women's side. The men's side is so nomadic now. One-and-doners, transfer portals. Guys are staying a short time at schools everywhere. It's just not the same anymore.
If you polled a random person on Anywhere Street USA and asked them if they knew who Caitlin Clark was or Dalton Connett, do you think they'd be more likely to say Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just a random men's
and
athlete
this is
that I'm
nothing
polling.
against Dalton Connett's mostly going to be SEC Player of the Year.
Sure, he's likely going to be a high pick in the draft.
How many years is he at Tennessee?
1.
And how do you get to Tennessee?
From Northern Colorado.
Transferred on the transfer portal.
Yes.
Boom. Mark Sears at Alabama. It's his second year at Bama, but he transferred in from Ohio, if my memory serves me.
Sure.
It's just a different world. It's so rare to have a guy be recruited by you, come there, and stay 3 or 4 years, and he's playing at a high level. He's going to pop off to the NBA if he can be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Or if he's not getting the time he wants, he could transfer. His NIL deal is better somewhere else. He could leave you.
I'll say probably the most known college basketball player from a general public standpoint is probably Bronny James, and I think we all know why that is, and that's not because of his on-the-court performance.
No, it's not. If he was Bronny Head or Bronny Ford, it wouldn't be the same thing. Thank God he's not for his sake. But it's just, so no one's saying the women's game is more popular, it's going to get higher ratings, or even it's going to be a better tournament. We're just saying the sports fan has heard the Angel Reese name over and over again.
Right.
The Caitlin Clark name over and over again. They heard Aaliyah Boston for 4 years.
Yep.
And Caitlin Clark now has kind of risen above her sport to become a name to casual sports fans. That's all we're saying. Thank you for the text. We appreciate it. 803-446-6100. What's trending at 2 is next here on the Halftime Show.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Plus tax entitled with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. It's the third week of JT's Kia Mania, and JT's going crazy. Make him an offer. He won't say no to nothing. JT's Kia Mania is your chance to pick up a new Kia at Kia Mania Savings with no down payment and 0 payments till September. JT also has 0% interest. With every new Kia, get a huge cashback check. Rush to Kia Mania, Greystone, or Killian. JT's Kia Mania is back.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Join Angry Fish Brewing Company this week as they celebrate St. Patty's Day in style. They're excited to announce the release of 4 new beers: Snug Harbor 80 shillings, a Scottish Ale, Tight Lines Irish Red, Roundabout ESB, Extra Special Bitter, and Pints O Gold Irish Pale Ale. And that's not all. They'll have live music with Eric Flanders on Saturday from 7 to 10, along with delicious food available every day. Make your way to Angry Fish on Fabrister Lane in Lexington this week for a St. Patty's Day celebration you won't forget. Remember, at Angry Fish, we drink all we can and sell the rest.
It's postseason basketball time, which means it's time for some watch parties cheering on the Gamecocks, and nothing beats a watch party spread of delicious Firehouse subs. Whether it's a small party of 5 or you've invited the entire neighborhood, Firehouse Subs has you covered. Order in advance online at firehousesubs.com or tap on Rapid Rescue in the Firehouse Subs app, which is your best way to get great Firehouse rewards. Be the champion of your watch party this season, only with Firehouse Subs.
Hey Gamecocks, Ben Cato. Cold weather is here now, and if you're like me, that probably means you haven't touched your yard equipment in a while. Don't wait until the weeds are knee-high. The Service Center at Cato's Power Equipment is here to fix any problem, big or small. Let us keep your tools one pull away from getting you back to work. Mention this ad, and we'll throw in a free oil change and fuel flush on any Toro, Gravely, or Aaron Zero Turn, now through March 31st. Only at Cato's Power Equipment, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, right outside of downtown Columbia.
Hey Columbia, are you tired of waiting around for your car to be serviced? Well, at Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia, every Thursday is 30-Minute Thursday. Yes, in just 30 minutes, whether it's an oil change, a battery replacement, or even a tire rotation, their expert techs ensure top-notch service. So why wait? Get your life back in a jiffy. Schedule your appointment today by calling 803-739-2999. That's 739-2999. Or visit them online at wetzelsauto.com. Wetzel's Automotive, they're Otis approved.
Golf in the Midlands is a staple of what makes Columbia great. And Charwood Golf Club is ready to host you and your friends for a great day on the links. Call Charwood today and line up that tee time, 803-755-2000. Or you can visit them on the web, charwood.com. Charwood Golf Club has a great 18-hole layout that'll challenge you and your buddies and give you a great experience. So call today, 803-755-2000, and book that tee time.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Hey, this is Sean Cooper from Gamecock Men's Basketball, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game.
A Cumulus media station.
What's trending at 2?
Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions.
2 locations in Lexington and Sandhills. On the Halftime Show, your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
They're gonna put me in the movies.
All right, time to check out what is trending at 2 here on The Game. And obviously we had some Shane Beamer last hour during football, the condensed version of football. So we're going to hit a couple more Shane cuts from his first post-spring practice presser. Well, that really flowed right there, didn't it?
Sure, close enough.
All right. You had played the cut about the quarterback situation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did that earlier. I talked a little bit about what he had to say about the new coaches as well as mixing schemes on defense.
All right. One other interesting thing is Nick Harbor. Wide receiver room, you lost a lot.
Yeah.
You're bringing in transfer portal guys who have had past production, but obviously you're going to see how they fit in and how they can step up for you, because not all transfer portal folks pop the way you want them to. Some pop more, some pop less, some do exactly what you expect. Nick Harbor coming back with all this athletic ability, all this athleticism, very raw wide receiver. We watched him last year. I mean, you saw things, you're like, wow, if that guy just gets reps, how good could he be? And you saw some things going, wow, that guy really needs reps. He needs to develop. Right now, Nick Harbor's running track, which, again, that's part of the reason he came to the University of South Carolina, because Shane Beamer told him, hey, we're not going to stand in the way of your track career. We know it's important to you. We will work with you when it comes to the track stuff. Because Nick Harbor, when it's all said and done, seems like he's on the path to be a world-class sprinter, Olympic level.
Right.
And Shane is staying with his promise, which you should do. So here's Shane Beamer talking about how Nick Harbor is working any football in while he's doing track.
Yeah, dang it, I screwed it up again. I brought the injury report in here and totally forgot to go over it, so that's my fault. First of all, with Nick, his focus, his primary focus right now is track and trying to win championships for our track team. And then there's also the Summer Olympics coming up as well, which I do believe is a very real possibility for him potentially. We'll see how outdoor track goes. So football-wise, track is the priority, but he will be with football when it doesn't interfere with track and when it doesn't interfere with his class schedule. And so what does that look like? That means class schedule-wise, Tuesdays and Thursdays, not to give you Nick's entire academic calendar here for the spring semester, but Tuesdays and Thursdays he has class, but he's in the morning, but he's able to be with us most of the morning. So he was out there today. He was in meetings this morning at 7:30, and he'll be able to be with us, on his own when it doesn't interfere with track. So he was out there today for the most part watching, and he was, during a lot of the practice parts, he was standing next to me, getting the signal from the sideline or listening to the play call in the huddle, and then telling me what his assignment would be on that play and all that. And then also on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday days, the days that we don't practice, it's kind of the same thing. He's got a little bit more of a heavy class load on those days, or he may be traveling with track on those days. So when he can be with us, and we want him over here, and he's going to plan to be here, and when it doesn't interfere with track or class. But we won't have him out there necessarily practicing and, getting hit where it prevents him from running in a track meet on Saturday. We don't want that. But like I told him today on the field when we were talking, I want him to be able to be the greatest track student athlete he can be this spring and win championships but I also want him to get better as a football player without it taken away from track. So I think we have a good plan. We've communicated with the track staff. We met back in December, I guess, about Nick's schedule in the spring and whatnot.
So there is the basic layout, which is, and look, it's a no-brainer, duh. You don't want the guy to get hit.
Sure.
Kind of would, ruin your track career if you get lower leg injuries or any injuries at all.
When you're talking about running track, you're talking about tenths of a second, and even having like a sore ankle, that's costing you time.
Yeah, so I totally understand why you're not going to have him out there getting hit in the spring. It makes sense. But selfishly, to look at the football side of this, running track, which again is a very important thing to Nick Harbor, but if you're Shane Beamer, of course you're like, well, we support him, we love him, go get in the Olympics and win medals.
Right.
But man, it'd be nice to have you here in the spring getting reps to help you develop as a receiver because you're pretty raw. So I think this, Tyler, is, look, you hope maybe in the summer he can start catching up, but I don't know how much you really can expect Nick Harbor to blossom into what everyone thinks he's going to be, especially this year when he's still not getting all the reps he needs to become a polished collegiate wide receiver.
We were talking about this on the Takeover Hour, and Wes brought up a really good point. We see multi-sport athletes in college quite a bit. Typically, though, if you are a college football player and let's say you're playing basketball or playing baseball, football takes priority 99% of the time. This is a very rare instance where track is the MO here. Again, Nick Harbor has aspirations of being an Olympic sprinter, obviously wants to be a great football player too and play in the NFL one day and all that kind of stuff, but the track is what really brought him to South Carolina. Shane Beamer mentioned he met with the track staff. Track was part of the recruiting process saying, hey, you come here and play football for us, we're going to allow you to go full force on the track stuff too. Just happens track season's in the spring. So right now he's in the midst of his season. It's great that he's still out there, going to practice and being involved to whatever degree that he can, obviously not taking contact. But like you said, when you look at somebody that was so raw at the wide receiver spot a season ago, because again, that wasn't his natural position in high school. He definitely had some growing pains, and naturally you would use this spring session to bring them along from where they ended last season, and you don't know if not being on the field, if he's kind of not starting back at zero, but starting back at a lower point than he would be if he was fully able to participate in spring practice.
Yeah, it is a different vibe. And, because you got a 5-star guy showing up, played edge pass rusher and tight end in high school. So now, and look,
tight ends aren't the crispest route runners.
Right. And the other part is, you don't know. Here's the guess. The guess is you're recruiting him. He wants to go somewhere where they will understand how important track is for him. It's not like just a side hustle to football, right? I mean, it's a real thing. Because let's face it, he's farther along as a track athlete than a football player. And he's got huge aspirations on the track. So that's going to be part of it. But the other part of it, too, I'm just guessing, again, just throwing it out there, Tyler, is either South Carolina presented this or maybe Nick Harbor and his folks did, or his people. That playing edge pass rusher gets you hit a lot. Playing tight end, you're kind of close to the line of scrimmage. You can get hit a lot. Where a place that would minimize getting hit? Wide receiver.
Sure, that factored in some kind of way.
And that's okay. That's not a criticism. It's just part of all this is track is important, and two, putting me in a place when, look, football's a collision sport. You get hit anywhere you go. But minimizing the amount of hits would move you out wide. Even though you've never played there, I'm just guessing that had to be part of all of this too, is look, I don't want to play edge. I don't want to rush off the edge. Look, I don't want to play tight end. I'm in close to the line of scrimmage and a lot of bodies flying everywhere.
Right.
I want to go somewhere where I can minimize the chances of getting injured that would also hurt my track and field career.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of one of those things, too, when you look at, last season and obviously lose Juice Wells, you're losing Xavier Leggett, had some guys go to the transfer portal. There is an opening for the number one receiver for South Carolina. And again, if Nick Harbor was not participating in track activities and could be 100% committed to football this time of year, there's an opportunity for him to step up into that role this fall if the development is far enough along. And not saying that he can't eventually get there, but I think that, and I don't know how far into the summer the track runs, but whenever he's finally done with track, he'll get to jump over the football side of things and focus on that full force leading up to the season, but that window of development is going to be diminished significantly.
Yeah, and that's just the thing. So the ramping up process is slower than typically it would be. I'm not saying, look, Nick Harbor can end up popping, I don't know, but the development curve has been slowed. And so the expectation, I'm not saying, hey, slow your roll, but you have to understand that because what Nick Harbor's doing, he's such a special case. Yes, you see all the physical skill, the physical ability, athleticism, the speed, all that stuff. And yeah, that makes you drool as a football fan to see if this guy can take all that and turn it into a high-level wide receiver. But also that position, there are technical aspects. You have to be able to do certain things. Route running is important. Little things about catching a football, how you place your hands. There's so many little things in playing the position that we don't even know. And those things aren't going to get developed as quickly because, again, you got a guy who has serious focus on track, and that's okay. But it's just fan base,
and
that's where it's at.
What was the conversation that we had leading into last season as well as when the season started? And, he was getting some reps, but he wasn't out there pulling in 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown every single week. And people were like, he's a 5-star athlete. Well, why isn't? Because he wasn't playing his natural position. And I don't care how great of an athlete you are, when you're doing something you've never done before, there's going to be a learning process.
Yes, and that's what's going on now is the learning process. Like I said, he made a couple of catches and a couple of plays last year when he was on the field. You go,
you saw it. It was like, there it is. Okay.
You don't have to be an expert to go, ooh.
Exactly. The one, I forget which game it was, where he leapt over the guy, and I think Beamer almost jumped higher
Was that the
him.
Missouri game when he made the catch?
No, it was here. I'm pretty sure it was here.
Oh, no, it was here. It was against, not Florida.
It was late in the
after
season.
Florida. It was in it was in November.
Yeah.
I can't remember
It may
the
have
game
been
either.
Vanderbilt, but either way.
Might have been. I think it was Vandy.
Coach Beamer almost jumped higher than him after he made the catch on just the excitement of seeing that kind of play.
And he had a nice catch in the Missouri game deep down the field, too.
Yes.
So there were moments where you saw the flashes of what it could be, but then you saw the moments where you go, yeah, he's raw.
Sure.
And we know, it's not going to be everybody, but there's going to be a percentage of fans who are going, what's up here? But I guess this conversation is just not to tell you how to think, but to prepare you that, this guy is doing 2 things, and the focus is on 2 things.
Which, by the way, he's doing those 2 things better than we could do the one thing if we were fully focused on it.
Sure, and so that's how much of a special athlete he is.
Yes.
Will he become a special football player? I don't know. I feel like, honestly, if you want me to be honest about it, I think he's got more of a chance to be a special track athlete than a special football player.
That's where he's at right now in his athletic journey. Now, could he go be an Olympic gold medalist and then go play in the NFL? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It could happen. That would probably be a first to see an Olympic gold medalist sprinter become a high-level NFL player.
High level, yeah. Gold medalist, yeah. I know.
There's some guys who have
signed guys that have been Olympic sprinters.
The one when I was younger, I'll never forget, was Ronaldo Nehemiah. The 49ers signed Ronaldo Nehemiah, who was a high-level track athlete.
Right.
And, Ronaldo Nehemiah looked good breaking off the line of scrimmage, beating dudes deep. He just didn't look good when the ball hit him in the hands and he dropped it.
I was going to say, that whole catching thing was a problem.
Kind of was a thing. So, not saying Nicholas Harbor couldn't do it, but if he did end up doing both on a high level professionally, that's like almost like Bo Jackson territory. Not quite Bo or Dion, but not far behind.
He'd be in that unicorn category of
absolutely
very special generational type of athlete.
Yes. So just the Nick Harbor thing again. The point of this riff is just to understand how much time he does spend with track and field. And that is one of those things that will slow development on the football field. Not to say he'll never get to the point we all want to see him get to, but just that's where it's at. All right, we'll come back. And who we got here next?
Got Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire. I talked to him a little bit earlier this morning, gave some insight to Oregon for tomorrow's game.
All right, so we're going to re-rack that. Tyler's extra point interview coming up next. Give you some insight on the Oregon Ducks, who obviously South Carolina playing tomorrow. 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock tip right here on the game. That interview next on the halftime show on the game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
It's the easiest way to snag Gamecocks baseball tickets for nothing. It's our Twin Peaks dance contest from the game. Just stop by Twin Peaks in the Vista Thursday starting at 11:30 a.m. before our live show at Twin Peaks and randomly draw one of the 68 teams in the tournament. Hold on to that team. If your squad wins it all, you'll snag season tickets to the remainder of the 2024 USC baseball season. The Twin Peaks dance contest from Twin Peaks and the Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
This is Monster Jam. Witness big air, two-wheel skills, backflips, and all-out racing. It's the only place to see the world's best riders tear up the dirt in your favorite Monster Jam trucks, like Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, Megalodon, and more. It's big-time fun for the whole family. Monster Jam, as big as it gets. Coming to Colonial Life Arena April 6th and 7th. Brought to you by BKT Tires, Great Clips, and Texas Roadhouse. Visit monsterjam.com today.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to garnettrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
What's up, Gamecocks? Ben Cato, proud third-generation owner of Cato's Power Equipment. If you're a landscaper looking to grow your business in 2024, or you're just ready for an upgrade, consider our amazing lineup of stand-up mowers from Gravely and Toro. From the affordable, extremely durable Gravely Z stance to the time-tested Toro Grandstand. These mowers offer better ergonomics, safer hill cutting, and the same great cut you come to expect from a top-class zero-turn. Let us upgrade your fleet today. Come see us at Cato's Power Equipment.
What you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy. Check out the Season of Love at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 in Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence. The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina, on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
All right, we are rolling what's trending at 2 here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on The Game. It's interesting. what happened last night, because the NCAA tournament, it did start last night. I just don't do the bracket till we get to 64.
It's debatable.
I don't myself. I wait for the play-in games and I do the bracket.
That's fair.
I'm not saying the tournament didn't start. That's disrespecting the teams that are playing, and it is the tournament to them, and it means something to them. Don't believe me? Ask Wagner last night.
Sure.
Well, they got 4 guys. I mean, it's crazy. They had 7 players because of all the injuries they've had.
Right.
And they're now in the field of 64 with their win over Howard. So thumbs up. But what Virginia did last night, the horrific, abysmal offensive showing by Virginia last night, the amount of bricks that Virginia brought into that building, I'm telling you, I've never in my life turned off NCAA tournament basketball until last night.
It was pretty horrendous.
I mean, that was so god-awful. And look, I didn't think Virginia should have been in the first place, but the metrics and all this other stuff, I saw Virginia play enough this year where what they did last night was not surprising.
Well, and the ACC as a whole, not the normal ACC that we're used to. And look, NC State had an incredible run through the tournament, but top to bottom, the ACC not super powerful. I think Virginia up number 4 overall in the regular season, so that kind of shows you that the league as a whole not all that great this year.
I mean, Virginia had been bad offensively all year. Their resume, I guess it was good enough to get you in. They were on a bubble. Like I said, everybody on the bubble's got nobody to blame if you don't get in. But that being said, look, this is why I always trump for the mid-major who had a great year. I would have rather watched Indiana State last night.
They're a much more fun team to watch.
They're one of the best offensive teams in America. They've got a nose tackle at center who actually is their leading scorer, I believe.
Larry Blur.
Oh, to sit through that misery last night and think, it'd be great to see an Indiana State in this game. Or honestly, there were other bubble teams that would have been better to watch than that mess we saw from Virginia last night.
We talk about Virginia and their resume for the committee. They were 2-8 in quad 1 games.
Yeah.
They were 54 in the net. Like, it's not something that jumps off the page at you.
Like I say, because really with this, what happens is, Tyler, because you're playing in a Power 5 league, your strength of schedule automatically is going to be better than Indiana State.
Sure.
Automatically. Does it mean you're a better basketball team? No, it really doesn't. It just means the quality of opponent you played to build your record is better than the other team's quality of opponent.
Right.
But this is why I hate these Power 5 mediocre teams. And we're going to see more of them, by the way, when you expand the tournament.
And that's, coming away from last night's game, I saw a lot of people jumping and saying, well, this is the case against expansion in the NCAA tournament, which they're not wrong, because you're going to get more teams like this playing meaningful basketball if you expand. But you know why they're going to expand the tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Money.
Sure. Why do you think, and God love Greg Sankey, he's a heck of a commissioner, why do you think Greg Sankey's jumping up and down to expand the tournament? To get more mediocre SEC teams in the tournament.
Exactly. He wants LSU.
Ole Miss.
He wants
and LSU.
Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. And are they going to go very far? No, but it still gets them in the tournament.
Money.
And here's the thing. As much as we say we want to watch the Indiana States and all that kind of stuff, casual basketball fans associate with brands. And they say, oh, LSU's playing in the tournament? I'll watch that.
And then you go, ooh, they stink.
Yeah.
But you're going to think.
You are going to pay attention more than, oh, okay, Wagner, cool. I don't know anything about Wagner. Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Exactly. Like I'm not as interested in watching that game. Brands drive ratings.
It's sad because we know where it's going. And but it's going to go there, and we're going to see more mediocre power conference teams stumbling all over themselves in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, occasionally you'll get a UCLA from the 11 seed to go from first 4 to the Final 4. But that's UCLA. That's not like, ooh, wow, Cinderella story. That's fun. No, that's UCLA. Speaking of brand,
sure.
You don't equate the fact that UCLA is so far away from being the John Wooden UCLA, but still.
And they got in from the first 4 that year.
That year they went from first 4.
I don't remember what teams were on the bubble, but I imagine that brand put them over whatever mid-major might have been on that bubble too, that who knows what they could have done in the tournament.
And that's the point, because VCU also went from the first 4 to the Final 4.
Sure.
I guess maybe I just have that soft spot in my heart for the mid-major who goes through their entire season killing it and playing really well, and they got the number 1 seed in their conference tournament, but because their conference gets one bid, if they lose at a buzzer beater in overtime in the conference championship game, they're now going to roll to the NIT, and one of these mediocre power schools are going to get in ahead of them.
Think about this. When Lamont Paris won the SoCon against Furman and that last-second shot that sent his team to the tournament, if that doesn't happen, Chattanooga doesn't make the tournament. Lamont Paris is not the head coach here at South Carolina, and we're talking about a completely different basketball program here now. Like, it has a cause and effect.
Sure it does. And it's one of those things that, I guess me personally, I think you should be rewarded for being successful in the regular season.
Sure.
To be, what was Virginia? They were 20-14 or something ridiculous.
20, I think 23-10, something like that.
Were they that good? I didn't know they were that good. But so
23-11.
23-11.
Conference 13-7 though.
Okay, they were above average. But they didn't play as well in the regular season in their own league as Indiana State.
Exactly. And again, they ended up tied for 4th. But again, the league as a whole, not fantastic.
So I guess, and you look at Michigan State this year, they're a mediocre team in the Big Ten, but Tom Izzo and that brand, look, if Michigan State is above average enough, they'll find a way to get Michigan State in the NCAA tournament. That's my thing. Other teams who are better in the regular season, who don't get the opportunity to play a tougher schedule, they get penalized automatically.
Sure.
And then we get a lot of that cushy middle of these power leagues where, they might win a game or two, maybe, or they might get bounced in the first round. They're nobody special. They were mediocre all year, and they just get in because of the league. Like the Big 12. The Big 12's phenomenal this year. Phenomenal league. And there are teams in the middle of that thing. Like I thought Kansas State would find a way to get in.
Right.
Even though they really didn't deserve it, but they're playing in such a good league. I was looking at that the committee would go, you guys played in the best league in America, so being mediocre in the best league in America, that should be good enough to put you in the tournament.
I was going to say you can almost make the case for just about every Big 12 team, good or bad. Like, they're in the Big 12, they can make the tournament.
Yeah, and then you'll get this. Well, head-to-head, Kansas State to beat Indiana State. Maybe.
Let's see it.
I don't know for sure. But my point is it isn't that. Again, now we're going to the think system like college football for years.
And the disparity in talent between the top and the bottom in men's college basketball is pretty thin when you compare it to the other sports like football, women's basketball. Like, there's a reason that UMBC was able to beat Virginia that year. And I can guarantee you there were no 5 stars on that UMBC team. You know what I mean? But those kind of things happen.
Combined, Tyler, they might have had 5 stars, the whole team.
They might add up to half a star combined, for being honest there. But, those kind of things happen in men's basketball. So you truly never know until you give those teams a chance.
Yeah, and all the stories we remember, a lot of the stories we remember from the NCAA tournament, we remember the dominant teams who win, or a great story going to the Final Four. But Cinderellas always resonate.
Every year. And look, if you had 4 number 1 seeds playing in the Final Four, great basketball. But man, if you get like that 12 in there mixed with like a 1, and like a 4, that I think is everybody's like ideal Final Four. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. That was almost perfect how you described it. You get a couple of 1s that are blue bloods with the big brands. You get that 12 seed Cinderella, and then you got that other team that is really good. And they've been on a roll, but they're not as good as the 1s.
Yeah, like Auburn's a 4 this year.
But they could get a 1. They could beat a 1.
Exactly.
And to me, that's the beauty of the tournament there in a Final Four. And again, it's just me. I want to see a mid-major, recognized for a great year more than some mediocre power conference team that barely was over 500 in league and maybe was 8 games over 500. All right, that's what's trending at 2. We'll come back. Man, today is the 20th of March. I think it's the greatest day in the history of the world.
That's correct.
That's coming up next here on the Halftime Show in the Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
Listen to Gamecocks baseball on The Game and If a Gamecocks batter hits a grand slam,
you could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash in the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Go to 1075thegame.com and register. Brought to you by Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and The Game.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
The world returns to the State Fairgrounds April 6th and 7th for the 29th year of the Columbia International Festival. Experience South Carolina's cultural diversity. Explore 100 national exhibits. Taste foods from around the world and shop at an international bazaar. Enjoy cultural performances, fashion shows, and a parade of nations. This year highlights the Caribbean. For more information, visit CIFonline.org.
I am Jim, one of the bedbug canine handlers at Dotson Pest Control. And this is Jenny. We are one of the canine teams available to visit after a bedbug treatment to ensure the problem has been eliminated. Good dog. Learn more at DotsonBROS.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Get your taste buds ready. Chicken Parm just got an upgrade. The new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub from Firehouse Subs is made with savory chicken meatballs in a bright marinara sauce topped with shaved Parmesan, melted provolone, and crispy Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, served on a toasted garlic bread roll. Try the new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs. Order online or on the app today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Come see the entire line of Whirlpool appliances at 1421 Atlas Road. Whirlpool offers bigger, better, and more efficient appliances. And Jeffers McGill offers the best in customer service and low prices. Jeffers McGill and Whirlpool, your home team.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Spring is in the air, but so are airborne allergens like tree pollen, grass, mold, and ragweed. If spring allergies keep you trapped inside, then you need Navage Nasal Care to keep you breathing clearly and enjoying all the beauties of spring. Navage helps clear nasal passages that are often clogged because of seasonal allergies. Navage gently flushes a pure, refreshing saline solution through your nasal passages to clear out congestion, sucking out that springtime pollen and other irritants trapped in your nose. Navage springs into action quickly, helping you breathe more clearly in just 30 seconds. And you don't need a never-ending cycle of decongestants that can leave you feeling drowsy. Navage is the fast and easy drug-free allergy solution that helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier. Get Navage today so you can get outdoors and enjoy your favorite springtime activities. Navage is available online at Navage.com or in stores at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, Navage. Breathe easy.
What you're talking about.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, the best selection of new Chevys. Right now, no hassle, no ridiculous add-on stickers. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina.
The greatest day in the history of the world on the Halftime Show is sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
All right, the greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. All right, Tyler Head, on this day in 1954, I was celebrating my 20th birthday. No, in this day in 1954, the first televised NCAA championship game between LaSalle and Bradley. LaSalle, I think Tom Gola played for LaSalle. Because again, remember, I was there. It's 1954.
Sure.
LaSalle beat Bradley 92-76. That set a record for most points scored in a title game. First televised NCAA championship game, 1954. Also, we had a lot of NCAA tournament stuff in here that we're not going to get to. John Havlicek, this day in 1976, played for the Boston Celtics. He was the one that turned the six-man role into something in the NBA. He became the first NBA player to score more than 1,000 points per season for 14 consecutive years. Havlicek was a phenomenal player. Again, guys of that era get lost today because there was no ESPN.
Sure.
There was no internet. But John Havlicek was a phenomenal ball player who also was the first true six-man in the NBA.
Right.
1988, not a good day for Tony Tubbs. Heavyweight contender, challenger. Tony Tubbs ran into Mike Tyson's fist on this day in 1988.
You know, he wasn't the first one.
Knocked out in the second round. This is another beating. This is when Mike Tyson was truly at his Mike Tysonist.
Sure.
When he had custom auto, if my memory serves me. It might not have been as bad as Michael Spinks, who they had to hold in the ring because Michael Spinks didn't want to be there.
Right.
But Tony Tubbs wasn't very excited about fighting Mike Tyson either.
Not many people are.
Not especially the young Mike Tyson. Oh my!
Have you seen his training videos for this Jake Paul fight?
I have not.
I mean,
he's 60 something, right?
He's not as quick as he once was, but I wouldn't step in the ring with him.
No. And here's the other thing about him. I know he's kinder, gentler, does his little stand-up comedy thing now in his one-man show or whatever, and he seems like, he's such a pussycat. No, I think inside him, there's still a killer.
Well, he was also maybe doing some substances back in the day that may have fueled that intensity a little bit.
Stop it. I remember when he got into a fender bender with a guy in D.C., and if I remember, tried to go after the guy.
Uh-huh.
How would you like to be a dude? You're on the highway, Capitol Beltway's a disaster, and you're sitting there, bumper-to-bumper traffic, you've been in a backup for 2 hours, all of a sudden either you hit somebody in the back or they hit you. It's nothing major, just a little bumper-to-bumper thing,
sure.
But you're already annoyed. You go to get out of your car to turn around and tell that guy, bleep, 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 and you turn around, and it's a guy with a tattoo on his face named Mike Tyson.
Now, you have the situation unfolding, and then you have to tell people about it later. How many people are going to believe you?
Oh, nobody. Nobody's going to believe you. They go, yeah, sure, Mike Tyson. Yeah, right, whatever, bud. He had a tattoo on his face. It was Mike Tyson.
Though, to be fair, if you were still alive to tell the story,
yeah,
that's one reason to not believe you, I guess.
Yeah, Mike Tyson had some anger issues in those days. No doubt. On this day in 2005, LeBron James, at age 20, became the youngest player to score 50 points in an NBA game. He hung 56 on the Toronto Raptors in a Cavs win, 105-98. We're getting to that LeBron James part now. Remember, we go through these Michael Jordan, spans of time where every day seems like Michael Jordan is this day in history guy.
Sure, got Will Chamberlain.
Tiger Woods, Will Chamberlain.
Yep.
Now we're into LeBron James, 20 years old, hung a 56 burger on the Raptors. The inaugural World Baseball Classic. You remember this back in 2006, right?
I actually kind of do, yeah.
Japan beat Cuba 10-6.
You know what's funny about...
What's your favorite moment from that game?
Nothing. You know what's really funny about the World Baseball Classic? And last year we had Japan and the United States come down to the final game, and you had Shohei Ohtani, you had Mike Trout, just an incredible story. And I remember so many people were, and I get it, there's pride and patriotism and all that kind of stuff. So many people were distraught about America losing that. And I remember telling someone, like, we're going to forget about this in a week when the actual Major League Baseball season starts. Did that get brought up at any point later on in the Major League Baseball season? Maybe like an Angels game, sure, but everywhere else completely forgotten about. It's fun. It gives you something to watch until the season starts. It's an exhibition at the end of the day. It doesn't matter.
No, I remember when the U.S. won it. I forget how many years ago that was now, and it was such a big deal when America won. But yeah, you're right. It's an exhibition. If you're into it, great. If you're not, don't watch it. It's very simple.
Yeah, but your patriotism should not be hanging in the balance on an exhibition baseball game. It's comprised of mostly MLB players anyway.
Yeah. The value of your country is not hung to the World Baseball Classic.
It is not.
And the one thing you want to avoid, remember last year this happened to the Mets. Their closer got hurt at the World Baseball Classic.
Right.
A sign of things to come when Edwin Diaz limped off the mound and was done for the year. You just don't want any of your guys to get hurt. Look, owners in all professional sports hate to see their players play in these things, whether it's the Olympics, the World Baseball Classics. A lot of the NBA players will play in the European Championships.
Sure.
It drives owners crazy because they're writing such large checks. The last thing you want is one of your dudes getting hurt.
Right.
And besides that, again, it's an exhibition.
Doesn't matter.
It's okay. 2010, Northern Iowa pulled off one of the biggest upsets in NCAA tournament history in years. They knocked off the 1 seed Kansas 69-67 in a second-round game. That was pretty good, man. I remember that.
What seed were they?
Oh, they were a double-digit seed. I can't remember what they were. 13, 12, 14, somewhere in that neighborhood, Northern Iowa. I remember that game. It was Ali, and I can't think of the dude's name. Begins with an F, and I couldn't say it if I remembered it. Hit the game winner. Hit a three.
You know what's really fun to do with those kind of things? I saw a thread of this yesterday, like March Madness legends and what they're doing now. Because most of those guys that go to mid-majors, they're not going to the NBA. Some of them might play overseas, but most of them, once they're done with college basketball, they transition into normal lives like you and me. So that kid that hit that shot, he's probably like a podiatrist somewhere or something now.
Exactly. A podiatrist. I think I remember when they were talking to him after the game, and he said, "Yeah, I want to graduate from college and be a podiatrist." I think you're right.
You never know.
I think you're right. Last one, 2020. After 20 years with the Patriots, 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback Tom Brady officially agreed to move on to Tampa Bay. This day.
I remember this, and obviously that was less than 10 days after the world shut down. That should have been a much bigger headline, and it was still a big headline. But if the world was normal at that point in time, I can only imagine what it would have felt like. Because, again, there was a whole lot of other things going on outside the world of sports that we were very concerned with. Tom Brady leaving the Patriots, was big, but not as big as it could have been.
And the other part of it is because there were a lot of people, remember, New England's offense wasn't that good Brady's last year. Remember, they lost in the playoffs.
We thought he was washed up.
A lot of people thought he was washed.
It's like, man, this guy looks
Remember,
bad.
there weren't that many teams interested, if you remember.
Right.
Everybody thought he was going to San Francisco. 49ers went, yeah, we're good.
It was his dream to be a 49er.
And think if Brady plays the level he played in Tampa for San Francisco. Just saying. But what Brady did in Tampa did two interesting things. A, it changed everyone's perception of Tom Brady. Oh, you won a Super Bowl without Belichick, without New England.
Oh, yeah.
How'd Bill Belichick do after Brady left?
Not good.
Change the perception of both of those guys.
Now, Bruce Arians, still a very good coach.
Oh, Bruce Arians is a high-level coach.
Sure.
If Tom Brady goes and plays for, Robert Saleh, or he goes off and plays for some other dude, that probably doesn't happen.
Sure.
But Tampa Bay had a high-level coach. They had a lot of weapons on offense. And basically, Bruce Arians said, Tom, let's get together and let's go for it, man. Yeah. And, what do you like to do on offense? Here's what I like to do. Let's have an offense. Let's go for it, and you can throw it all these weapons.
Oh, by the way, Gronk's going to come with me, too.
Exactly. But it just changed the perception of Brady, and it changed the perception of Belichick.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. All right, that's our day in sports, the greatest day in history of the world. Brought to you by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We'll come back in here, Firehouse Subtext the Hour. We'll yip with Jay Phillips for a little bit, too. Get ready for the post-game show as we wrap up the halftime show here on The Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been this year. What's so funny?
The noise.
You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app now.
This is Jim Rome with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by LL Flooring. LL Flooring, every step covered. An independent Jet podcaster sent a breakfast sando over to the Jets facility yesterday for Mike Williams, hoping that Mike would show up, sign a contract, and then eat said sando. And what do you know? Mike did show up, Mike did sign a one-year deal, and Mike did take a bite out of that breakfast sando. I'm Jim Rome.
If you're a pro and flooring is your game, we'll help you win it. Because at LL Flooring, all we do is floors. You want decor?
Try.
You want plumbing?
You're out.
LL Flooring has been helping pros knock it out of the park for over 30 years. Visit one of our 400 nationwide warehouses for one-on-one service, extensive inventory, and exclusive pro pricing. Get the pro treatment you deserve. Enroll today, online or in-store. LL Flooring, every step covered.
3 little words no parent wants to hear.
My tummy hurts.
And it always seems to happen at the worst times. Like in the middle of the morning rush, when you still have homework to check and lunches to pack, and of course, you're already late for work. Luckily, there's Pepto Kids. Pepto Kids gummies help relieve occasional stomach upsets, turning those 3 words into these 3 words.
I feel better.
Bad time for stomach upsets? Good time for Pepto Kids gummies. Fast support for little tummies.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience and top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Hey there, Columbia. All of us at Village Idiot Pizza would like to congratulate Dawn Staley, Lamont Paris, and both their teams on a phenomenal regular season, and thank you for the memories. Speaking of making memories, come make some with us at either Village Idiot location, 5 Points or Olympia at the Mills. Together, all postseason long, let's cheer on our Gamecocks. You may call it one thing, but we call it the 3rd month of the calendar craziness.
The world returns to the State Fairgrounds April 6th and 7th for the 29th year of the Columbia International Festival. Experience South Carolina's cultural diversity. Explore 100 national exhibits. Taste foods from around the world. And shop at an international bazaar. Enjoy cultural performances, fashion shows, and a parade of nations. This year highlights the Caribbean. For more information, visit CIFonline.org.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Getting older is never fun. You start experiencing some symptoms that you're not accustomed to. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe it's low energy level. Maybe it's lack of drive and motivation. But at the Men's Clinic, Dr. Dan Balknight is ready to help you with an individualized treatment that will treat your needs. So give them a phone call today, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS, or visit them on the web for more information, mensclinicsc.com.
The Halftime Show, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina.
It's time for Text of the Hour on the Firehouse Subs text line on the Halftime Show.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And the 107.5 The Game app.
righty, we're going to jump into our Firehouse Subtext of the hour, 803-446-100. Also, our buddy Jay Phillips popping in here as well. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
So our guy Skills writes in, says, just heard Dawn on Dan Patrick. She had an appearance on the Dan Patrick show today. She was great. She said she can still cross people up and is deadly from within 15 feet. So sounds like Dawn still can hoop.
Well, you know, it's funny because they talked about Jordan when he was the owner of the Wizards.
Right.
Would come down and hoop against those guys. And some of those dudes, he was still tearing them up at like age 50, whatever.
Sure. I mean, he's 60 now. He could probably still do it.
Absolutely. What if he probably can't dunk anymore? His vertical's probably under 40 inches now that he's age 60.
Is he 60 yet? He's got to be getting close.
He's got to be getting close. But yeah, I mean,
if you bet him, literally bet him, if he could dunk,
guess what?
He'll be dunking all day.
Exactly. Or go get a mini tramp. Because you didn't put that in. You didn't put that in the bet.
He'll just give him a month.
He is 61. He's past 60.
There you go.
He could still probably dunk on
So
you.
I could see Dawn out there breaking ankles.
Yeah.
I could see her still out there balling.
She did a good job on the Dan Patrick show.
I'll tell you what, man. You know, like, again, her players, unless they hit YouTube, Dawn could play. Dawn was really good.
I've said she was the Magic Johnson of American women's basketball for, 15 years.
I mean, she was
the starting point guard on 3 gold medal teams. That's all.
Her Virginia squad got at least to one Final Four. And they didn't win, but they got to the Final Four.
She was ACC Player of the Year. She was an All-American.
Yeah, well, Dan Patrick still thinks he can go out there. What's Dan, 65 now?
Yep.
Somewhere in his 60s. Dan still wants to go out and do three-point shooting contests against people.
He does.
I heard a little bit of him the other night. He brought Stephen A. Smith on his show, and the first thing he said to Stephen A. Smith was about, because Stephen A. Smith tried to play in college.
Right.
Yeah, Winston-Salem, right?
And averaged, 1 point a game or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so Dan was bringing him on.
I'll give you
and Dan was kind of, he said, yeah, and he said to Stephen A. something about, who at the mothership would you take on a three-point shooting contest or something? And then the line dropped. So Dan was joking about, must have hung up on me. I guess. And then Dan started talking about watching Stephen A. shoot like at one of these NBA games or whatever. Stephen A. went on the court in his suit and just was like, firing up shots. And then, of course, the Danettes go, could you take him? And, of course, Dan goes, absolutely. Dan still thinks he thinks he's Steph Curry still.
Well, Dan played at Eastern
Kentucky. Yeah.
So, yeah, good for him. He's tall.
Wait, what is Dan, 6?
I bet he's about 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah,
He's
6'3",
pretty tall.
6'4". Yeah, he can't break ankles at 60.
Not anymore. No. And he's had like 2 knee surgeries.
Yeah, Dan's better days behind him.
Yeah, he'll tell you that.
All right, so we have about 24 hours.
Yep.
Roughly.
Yeah.
25 hours.
Hey,
How you feeling?
You did it right this time.
I'm excited.
It wasn't tough this time. didn't need my calculator.
I'm excited.
What's your feeling?
It's like a lot of things. There's split decisions around the country on this one. Some people have Carolina.
This one's really split.
Winning. Yeah, well, I mean, Carolina's a 1.5 point favorite in the latest betting line I saw. Listen, with the exception of Auburn, South Carolina has played well against everybody that it's seen, even Alabama for a half. And then they, for whatever reason, some of it was Alabama. Carolina got away from it. Elijah and I were talking the other day. I think that South Carolina has had about 8 or so just bad halves of basketball, and 4 of them were against Auburn.
Yeah.
One was against LSU here. You lost.
Really, that was the last 6 minutes. Really, you let that thing get away from you.
And I think you also had what I would call a bad half against Mississippi here, but you ended up winning that game.
You held on.
You had a bad half, that second half at Alabama.
Well, you got out of what you do and you started doing what Alabama does.
And Lamont talked about that. So just, if you are, again, the Alabama matchup, or excuse me, the Auburn matchup, just again, bad matchup. But everybody else, listen, you beat Tennessee. You held Tennessee to their 2 lowest point outputs in conference play. You beat A&M.
Beat Kentucky.
You beat Kentucky. You beat Mississippi State twice. You beat Florida. Yeah, I think you won 7 games against, maybe 7 or 8 against teams in this tournament.
You beat Grand Canyon, who's
a heavy 12 favorite in a lot of people's minds. So, I like what they do. That said, Dana Altman has never lost a first-round game as an Oregon head coach, so he knows how to prep his team as well. And remember, last time, I keep reminding people, last time Carolina was in this tournament, Oregon also made the Final Four. So you know what kind of coach Dana is.
And the thing about this, though, we saw the kryptonite Auburn, athletic, long-armed, physical defenders who just took South Carolina out of their game because they were so athletic and they dig in on D. That's not Oregon.
Right.
Now, can Oregon win? Because, again, Dana Altman is a heck of a tournament coach since he got to Eugene. But Oregon doesn't bring the kryptonite.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Listen, I think Auburn can absolutely win this championship. And Auburn, by the way, as a 4 seed, is the 6th best betting favorite to win this championship. They're better than every 3 seed and 3 2 seeds to win this championship.
Well, they're the only team in the country top 10 offensive and defensive efficiency.
They're excellent and playing well. Yeah.
And Bruce Pearl's pretty good, too.
We got one from Pittsburgh
Elijah, you're
coming
next. They got this going on and that going on. We're leaving.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Since 1963, Takeuchi has been a pioneer in the compact construction industry, having developed the world's first compact excavator in 1971 and the world's first compact rubber track loader in 1986. Takeuchi continues to revolutionize the industry through innovative technology and listening to customer needs. Now you can partner with a truly global leader by contacting TEC